What's up, everybody? My name is Tony. Hope you're listening to the Hear Me Roar podcast, a sports show where I run my mouth about all things sports. And today, I am back with my co-host Noble Lewis, and we are presenting y'all another iteration of the Hear Me Roar podcast. And if you're not familiar with my voice, you better get used to it because I am the future of sports media. It is February 8th, about to be February 9th, recording this at nighttime. Trade deadline was today. We have NBA games currently going on, Nuggets versus Lakers. We have NFL Super Bowl this weekend, this Super Bowl Sunday, final game of the year between the Chiefs and the 49ers. We have NFL honors were announced earlier this night, so we're going to be getting all into it. As you can see, Noble has on his 49ers hat. He's ready to represent. He's ready for this Sunday. We're going to be breaking the game down, giving y'all a preview of what to watch, who do we think is going to win, and what not. Before we get started, as always, like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Leave a rating. Give us some feedback on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Anything that you want us to talk more about, any sports that you would like us to dive into, any improvements to the show that you would like us to make. The only way we can know is if y'all reach out and say something to us. If not, we're going to continue to do what we want and assume that is what y'all are willing to listen to and watch. So as always, please support us. We are going to be doing this throughout the year and until further notice. You know what I'm saying? Hear me roar, don't stop. So let's get right into it. Super Bowl 58. San Francisco 49ers versus Kansas City Chiefs. This is a rematch of the Super Bowl in 2019. Or 2020. We are once again seeing a matchup between two of the better teams in the league. Patrick Mahomes is back in the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy is having his first game in the Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan versus Andy Reid, part 2. We are less than 72 hours away. I'm very excited. Very, 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 very excited. And as we approach the game, there's actually a lot of interesting things going on, like with the 49ers practice field. They practice at the University of Las Vegas' practice field, and apparently the field is squishy or something because of the artificial or the natural grass that they laid over the turf is messing up the 49ers rhythm to run routes and dig their feet into the ground.
Fire alarm went off at the hotel in the morning, disrupting their sleep. You see.
Yeah, I don't know. Las Vegas is tripping.
You see what they're doing? They're getting it started early, but nah. On a real note, I'm not excited at all. I think it's gonna be a very boring Super Bowl. I'm not looking forward to it at all. But yeah, on a serious note, it's they're not gonna use that as excuses. They're not gonna use it as excuses. It's important to note, and I do think the standard needs to be set better going forward, but not going to use those as excuses. It is what it is. These are NFL players. These are professionals. They've been playing on concrete when they were little, right? So they're not used to they're used to being able to have adaptable surfaces. Obviously, you expect the best of the best going into the Super Bowl. You expect a high standard, which is, that's reasonable. It's reasonable, of course. And so, like you said, the standard should be better going forward. But I think it's a little bit more of a non-story, just something to point out because they did bring it up to the commissioner.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things where at this point it's a Super Bowl. If you're going to make any excuses, you don't need to be playing here. So, of course, the playing or the practice conditions should be better. You're goddamn Las Vegas of all places. You have an NFL team there. You're the goddamn NFL, and y'all have the money and the resources to provide proper facilities and situations for each team. It needs to get done. But like you said, it's not going to matter in the long run. I know the 49ers aren't going to be complaining about it. It is something that needs to be addressed. But look, the Super Bowl is motivation enough to get through whatever obstacles in your way.
As long as there's no crazy,
everybody's going to be ready.
Injuries. As long as
as long as they're nothing crazy, these folks going to be all right. But as we approach, we have a very interesting matchup. You've mentioned before, slightly about or briefly, you expect it to be a boring Super Bowl. I do too. I think I said in the last episode that I think that is going to be a long, drawn out affair. We're not going to be seeing back-to-back touchdowns and going bar for bar, throwing the ball and challenging each other offensively. I think it's very much so going to be a very defensive-minded matchup. We have two of the best defenses in the league. Really, the Chiefs have been the best defense in the playoffs, period. I saw a stat that says that Chiefs this year have allowed 13.7 points per game, which is fourth fewest in the postseason since 2000. Of course, the Baltimore Ravens, the Super Baltimore Ravens in 2000 only allowed 5.8 points per game, which is less than 2 field goals. That is actually insane. I think the only team that was better was the 85 Bears, who only allowed 3 or 10 points in the Super Bowl. They didn't allow a single point until the Super Bowl.
Crazy. Those are some.
It's insane. So
we already know those are top defenses all time, but it's even crazy to hear those numbers.
Wow. That you're in the playoffs. You're here for a reason, and you can't score a point.
The best of the best, and they can't get 2 field goals. That's wild. That is wild.
That is insane. So yeah, Kansas City Chiefs holding their opponents to 13.7 points per game. And if you really look at the teams they play, they beat the Dolphins with one of the premier quarterback and wide receiver connections in Tua versus Tua and Tyreek Hill. Of course, we know the conditions that they played in weren't the best, but still, you shut them down. You played against the Bills. You allowed a whole bunch of rushing yards, but you still didn't allow them to put up that many points up on the board. I think they only allowed what?
It was 24. So
24.
So it was a little bit, but it was that's not ridiculous, isn't it?
Right.
And it was enough to get the win. That's most
exactly. And then against the Ravens, you shut them just completely down, made that offense just null and void. Very shocking performance by the Ravens. Chiefs really stepped up and is led by defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. I think that he is going to be the key piece in this Super Bowl matchup. I think that he's going to need to call, or he's going to have to call a very, he's going to have to call a defense catered to stopping the San Francisco 49ers run game. Don't get Christian McCaffrey. Don't let him get going early. That's what I think the formula is for the Niners. And I think that the Chiefs need to put a very big emphasis on taking Christian McCaffrey out of the game, letting him get, okay, you want to, if he can rush 30 times and have 100 yards, I'm fine with that. We're cool with that because that's only 3 yards a carry. He needs to keep him under these 6, 7, 8+ yard runs that put the 49ers ahead of schedule, allow them to take more shots on second and short, third and short, be more aggressive offensively, make Brock Purdy be the hero of the game, make Brock Purdy have one of those, superstar performances. Make him have a breakout game, essentially, is what I'm saying. I think that the Chiefs' chances will be much higher if Brock Purdy was the main one leading the charge offensively rather than a diverse attack that is being kickstarted by their run game. What do you think?
It's interesting. You say that because I'm kind of going the opposite. I think it's more on Kyle Shanahan. I agree with that the Chiefs definitely need to put an emphasis on stopping the run. They absolutely need to because that rushing attack can get real mean. And I read a stat earlier that they were bottom 5 in the league against zone runs to the outside, to the left side. Well, you know what the 49ers like to do? They like to run behind big number 71 on outside zones to the left. So I think for me, it's more Kyle Shanahan not getting cute. We've seen time and time again Kyle Shanahan get too cute in these moments and almost outcoach himself. Until they stop it, unless they are selling out, I'm talking like 9 in the box selling out, run the ball to the left side. I'm not even just run the ball. Like, don't just run the ball anywhere. Don't run it to the right side every play. Run the ball behind big number 71. You got the best left tackle, arguably the best offensive lineman in the goddamn league on the left side. You got Kittle, the best blocking tight end in the league, who's damn near another offensive lineman. You got Juszczyk in the backfield. He can do some damage in the run game. You got CMC, just won Offensive Player of the Year tonight. Don't get too cute. That's my message, my main message to Kyle Shanahan. Don't get too cute. Make them stop you completely on the run before you give up on it. Because we've seen, in the Packers, we said they didn't run the ball enough. Against the Lions, we said, yeah, they ran the ball a little bit more, but I still don't think they ran the ball enough. Now is not the time to get cute and experimental until they stop it. Until they show you that, okay, we're not letting you do this anymore. Do not go away from the run, because not only is it your strength, it's their weakness. And then also that sets up the play action, that sets up the deep throw, that sets up the 50-yard crosser routes to Debo, that sets up Kittle over the middle, that sets up the out routes to Ayuk. Yeah. So start with your run game, lead with your run game, and then if you need to pivot, you can pivot. Never abandon it, because it's still your biggest weapon. And the thing about CMC is, the dangerous part about him is that he can be in check all day, and then out of nowhere, bam, he got a 40, 50-yard run. That's the thing about CMC and the 49ers zone run, their zone scheme, is that it doesn't, all it takes is one run to break out. And it seems like there's one like that almost every game. So
the Niners are they always run, like, firstly, y'all can still do damage with the inside gap plays, but outside zone is y'all money. Like you said, running behind 71, letting him lead block, lead the way, allows Christian McCaffrey to see everything in front of him and be able to put that first and second move onto the clear or the closest defender, and like you said, allow him to break off for a 50-yard run. He's super explosive, and I saw a stat that says that the Chiefs were 31st in yards per carry against zone runs. Yeah, so I know that's on the damn bulletin board for the Niners. So is it for the Chiefs. I really think that you can. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard because, like you said, we've been saying this for weeks and months now. When the Niners get going, it's just an avalanche that continues to spiral. It's very hard to stop it. But it always seems to get kickstarted by the run game, by CMC, starting off strong, starting off aggressive, showing the Chiefs that this is what we're going to do, and you're going to have to stop us. We're not going to we're just not going to concede and go away just because of a bad run here or there. We know that's going to happen, but we know we're going to get more yards than not on these certain plays. So until you show us that you can stop us consistently, we're going to get going. And like you said, once that get going, play action, allowing Brock Purdy to drop back. Y'all have a good offensive line as far as pass blocking is concerned, so allow him to stay in the pocket for just a few extra seconds and look at these open routes being ran by Debo Samuels, who always seems to be open. Brandon Ayuk, who can win those 50-50 one-on-one balls in man coverage. The deep plays, of course. And then, of course, George Kittle with these out routes over the middle. Strong body, sure hands, always going to be a reliable target to get to. The Chiefs are the main unit I'm watching for this game. The Chiefs defense is going to have to really bolster up and not just be dominant in the pass rush, which we've seen them do, not just be dominant in their secondary, which we've seen them be, but be solid in these outside zone runs, being very, very gritty in the trenches, not being pushed around, getting into causing as much traffic and chaos as possible for, like you said, the offensive player of the year, the most explosive back in the league, the best back in the league, Christian McCaffrey, 100%.
And on the other side of the ball, when you look at the 49ers defense versus the Chiefs offense, my key for them is also to stop the run. I think if they take Pacheco out, because the Chiefs are not a team they're not like the 49ers. They're not trying to run the ball down your throat. Now that they have Pacheco, they're much better with the run than they were in previous years, especially like going back to the last Super Bowl. But if you are able to take them out of the run, and part of this has to do with complementary football. The offense getting out to an early lead, as well as the defense getting some stops, forcing the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands, forcing them to throw the ball. Obviously, you're going against the best, our best quarterback in the league. I think undisputed best quarterback in the league, but he doesn't have the weapons he had last time. And if you go back, and I actually rewatched the last Super Bowl, and how much I realized it was such heartbreak because they were down 10 and they threw an interception with 11 minutes left in the game. If they're put in that situation again, I expect the 49ers to hold on this time. But they don't even have the weapons that they had last time. They don't have Tyreek Hill. Sammy Watkins, in my eyes, is better than MVS. They don't, So I think it's like they take the ball out of the run game because they're not very strong against the run. If you sell out against the run early, make them pass the ball, you're playing them into your strength because they are a very good pass defense. The 49ers pass defense, while it has been iffy at times, it's not their weakness though. They are a top 5 unit against the pass. So I think for them, it's about, even though you're going against the best quarterback in the league, make him throw the ball to beat you, because you throw into that secondary. You got Fred Warner, who's always lurking around. That matchup with Travis Kelce is going to be interesting to see. Dre Greenlaw is capable of getting interceptions. You got some other ball hawks in the secondary with Diamador Lenore and Shavarius Ward. So make them throw the ball into that cover 3 zone coverage, and we'll see. I think that would be their key to victory, because if they run the ball, if they're able to run the ball successfully and set up the pass, that's only going to make it so much harder to stop the pass. And you don't want to make it any more difficult when you got Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball. Exactly. Like it's not like you're going against Jared Goff this time. This is the best quarterback in the league. He's capable of dicing you up even when you know the pass is coming. So when you have to play the guessing game and you can't drop back into your pass sets quick enough, he's really going to get a chance to dice you up. So I think they need to stop the run early, make Patrick Mahomes throw the ball, because, like I said, they're very good against the pass.
They are. And it's going to be tough because we've seen how, like last game, Isaiah Pacheco didn't get going. The Ravens defense, their best performance was stopping the run. That was their best attribute that they had in that AFC Championship game. Isaiah Pacheco was just getting 2-3 yards to play. Yeah. Right. So he was a non-factor. But what makes Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense in general, especially in that Ravens game, it's especially in the first half, they take what you give them. Patrick Mahomes is not going to force the ball into coverage. He's not going to make these he's not going to try to force plays that aren't there. He understands the caliber of his receivers. He trusts them to do what they do, like you said, or like we saw in the AFC Championship game when it came down to it. He lobbed the ball up for MVS, and he came down to it to ice the game in the fourth quarter. But for the first 3, 4, or 3.5 quarters, he's just going to take what you give them. You're going to keep giving these 5-6 yard passes to Travis Kelce, or you want to only play single coverage on him with the linebacker. And of course we know how skilled Fred Warner is, not just in coverage, but as the field general per se. If they're going to want to give these underneath routes to Travis Kelce, you're just going to pick them apart. It's 11 for 11 in the AFC Championship game. I think that it's tough with this Chiefs offense because they don't have the explosive offensive weapons that they've had in their previous Super Bowl wins, especially against y'all the first time y'all played. But I don't think that they need them. I don't think that they necessarily. They're still a dangerous team offensively, is what I'm saying. Yeah, they don't need the run game to do it. But you're absolutely right, as in, if you let them get the run game, plus you're giving up these passes to Travis Kelce where he's catching 9, 10 in a row and just racking up these easy yards, let him get racked and allowing Rashee Rice to get going. Now we're just getting hit from all sides, and we're just making our own lives more difficult. It's definitely going to be a challenge. And on the other side too, the the Chiefs defense isn't no slouch neither in the passing game. They've only allowed, excluding week 18, they played Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, and Devontae Adams. And they held them to a combined 12 catches for 128 yards. So we're talking about those are elite receivers.
Yeah,
elite.
that's true. But I will say about those offenses that they have gone against, those are more like the Bills outside of Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis is good, but he's not a super threat. He's obviously not a wide receiver too, like having Ayuk or Debo. So I will say I don't know how well they will perform having to cover so many weapons. Like it would be one thing if it was just Ayuk, but you got Ayuk in the passing game, you got Debo in the passing game, you got Kittle in the passing game, you even got CMC in the passing game, you even got the damn fullback in the passing game. Right. You got Kyle Juszczyk to even worry about, and then not to mention Juwan Jennings, who we saw get clutch. His nickname is literally Third and Juwan because he seems to always be able to bring it down on third down. So I will say they were going up against much less stacked offenses and much offenses that weren't as capable of getting everyone involved. But I don't think they've gone against a threat of what other team do you have to worry about the fullback getting the ball? Right.
However, I think the Chiefs will take that. I think the Chiefs will take Kyle Juszczyk getting 6-7 catches over Brandon Ayuk getting 3 catches for 150 yards. He's gonna be getting played by L'Jarius Sneed. It's gonna be a tough day for both of them because we're not gonna sit up there and just say L'Jarius Sneed is just absolute Revis Island. It's gonna be tough going against Brandon Ayuk. But L'Jarius Sneed is a top DB in the league. He plays very tough coverage. And of course, we know Brandon Ayuk is Brock Purdy's number one target. He's going to be getting doubled.
It's good for sure. Because I don't know.
I think that's what it's going to be too. I think Kittle's going to have to not be used simply as a blocker, but he's going to have to get the ball thrown to him multiple times early.
On Kittle for real. Like you can't put L'Jarius Sneed. Trent McDuffie's too small. He's a nickel. He's too small for Kittle. Justin Reed, that's your best bet, but Nick Bolton, I think is too slow personally. I don't think he'll be able to cover Kittle. I don't think he has the pass coverage skills. Mm-hmm. Your best bet for me is Justin Reed, but I still don't think that's a very favorable matchup for the 49ers. So one of my players who's going to be key, especially in the passing game, is Kittle.
It is. It's going to be that's why I'm really excited for this matchup because it is because dead ass we just went all these matchups and it's like, well, they got this, but this get this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a very even matchup. As much as the Chiefs' faults were shown in the regular season, they really did a great kudos to firstly the player personnel for stepping up in the playoffs. Kudos to the coaching staff, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, and everybody else that really galvanized their players into stepping up, scheming them, or just pretty much putting them in the best position to make plays offensively and defensively. Same thing for the 49ers. We've seen them come back in damn near every game that they played in the postseason thus far against the Packers and against the Lions. That takes a fair amount of will, takes a fair amount of confidence, takes a fair amount of good play calling in order to get that done. So it's going to be a very, very close game on both sides of the ball. I think it's going to be gritty. We're going to be seeing a lot of chipper. It's going to be a chippy bout for sure because we're seeing matchups that they haven't seen each other in a minute, especially in a game of this caliber. So it's going to be chippy. It's going to be a scrappy game, and I'm excited for it, dog. It's this Sunday. I'm hyped. I'm hyped for it.
I hope it's a blowout. I don't want it to be close, and I
know you do.
I hope the 49ers win. I hope they can keep my blood pressure down. I don't need a heart attack this game. I want to be able to sit back in my recliner and not even have to get up. No heart racing, no anything. But
hey,
that's a lot easier said than done. A lot easier. So we'll have
Andy Reid got that Wendy's dark magic. Patrick Mahomes got that too. Travis Kelce
now has his own dark magic now. Brock Purdy, he's been able to pull some wins out the mud. And then, of course, and I think the 49ers have a little bit more chip on their shoulder because as much as they try to act like it's not a revenge game, we all know what happened last time. They have, Kittle didn't forget, Debo didn't forget, Bosa didn't forget. You don't forget losing in the Super Bowl in that feeling.
No.
So As
Yeah,
much
now
as they
you
try
like,
to
this is
play
literally
it
a
down,
get back game for sure.
literally, as much as you try to play it down, they all know how much. This is the same opponent. Not only are you back in the Super Bowl, which is not easy to do, this is the same opponent that beat you last
Yeah.
time. They know
Literally,
it.
a lot of these guys are still here. A lot of these guys are still here. So
They know
you've seen these faces up on that stage holding the Lombardi Trophy. You've seen the plays that they made against you. You've seen what they did to you all those years ago, and how much effort, how much stuff y'all had to go to in order to get back here. And let's not act like professional athletes don't have egos too. It's the truth.
it's
So
not magic.
everybody
They're
does.
not
Like,
robots. They
right.
have
So
feelings with it.
exactly, and I'm sure it's been a motivator for practice. Like, yeah, just like we stated at the top of this segment, the field is messed up. They have all the excuses in the world to make, but I'm sure they're not, because of the stakes and caliber of this game. Not just for a Super Bowl, which is clearly motivation enough, but the fact that y'all can even the score, the fact that y'all can make it technically 1-1. I don't give a hell about the people who are and who aren't there anymore. Enough of the people are still on the team on both sides of the ball to where this is pretty much if you win this game, it's 1-1.
Absolutely.
We're even now. You got
Same
a ring,
head
I got a
coach,
ring.
Same head coach, same
Yep.
quarterback for the Chiefs.
Quarterback. Yep.
Kelsey still there. Chris Jones still there. It's a lot of players on both sides that are still there. It's only 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So this
Or 4
definitely
years.
is a revenge game, a get back game, a game that the 49ers are going to want to.
They came off the plane actually playing that. They came off the game playing the YTB Fat song. Get back them off. Yeah, they actually came off the plane playing that. So they know what the deal is, man.
Yeah, they know what it is. This is the same team that was we got the same players on this team that was talking about the Eagles didn't deserve to be in the game last year, and we're happy when they got bounced in the first. So and they were happy. They beat the Eagles in a regular season game and was holding nuts over them. So, and you think they're not going to do this for the Super Bowl? This is absolutely a personal game on both sides of the ball too. I'm sure Patrick Mahomes would love to be crowned as father of Kyle Shanahan, father of the 49ers. It's going to be a good game. I'm super excited. Like we said, we're going to be recording an immediate reaction, post-game reaction podcast where we go and we literally analyze what we saw as we saw it. I'm super excited for that too, because especially if this is a good format, we can carry this over into the NBA playoffs and such, even UFC. Super excited for that. So yeah, Super Bowl 58 this Sunday. I'm still sad, of course, because this is the last NFL game of the year. 49ers versus Chiefs. We're going to be talking about it. Y'all tune in and watch. Next time, one day, a goal for Hemi Roar is to be live from the Super Bowl. That's what one day we're going to do. I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do that, motherfucker.
We're going to do it one
day.
Yeah. Be out there. I don't care if we got to be in a booth. They're expensive as hell, but hey, you saw the prices for them? Did you see the prices for some of the booth numbers?
Dog,
it was
like that is
500,000 was like the minimum for the booth.
And it's ridiculous that those things sell out. Those Super Bowl sells out every year. It's insane. Who has that money? But hey, that's neither here nor there. That's where I want to be one day. As we transition to the NBA, today was. Why do I feel like I'm lagging? Today was the NBA trade deadline. We saw a multitude of moves across the league. It wasn't a super explosive trade blockbuster day. However, we saw a lot of buyers buy. We saw a lot of sellers get rid of players with expiring contracts or bringing on aging veterans in order to ease their salary cap, get draft picks, set up their team for the future. And we're going to get into it. Starting off first, the New York Knicks. They arguably had the best day of they had the best moves of the trade deadline. They look to increase their season ceiling. They acquired Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks from the Detroit Pistons, the worst team in the league. And they traded away Evan Fournier, Malachi Flynn, Quentin Grimes, Ryan Archie. I'm trying to figure out how to say this again. Arcidiacono, who made history. I didn't even see that. 21 games with 0 points. Yep. Ryan Arcidiacono, goddammit. and 2 second-round picks. Of course, said on the last episode, Archie Diacono was the first player in NBA history to score like 21 or have 21 straight games with 0 points. So history making. He got in that's technically a blockbuster trade.
And what better
that was a great
to go to the Pistons,
right? And of course, yeah, that's very, very fitting. So watch, he's going to start dropping career numbers now. He's going to get 16, 17 minutes a game and start dropping 17 points. I like this move for the Knicks. Alec Burks, he's on an expiring $10.5 million contract. He's shooting 40% from the three and has been shooting 43.5% from three in his last 5 games. He's a vet of the league, played for the Jazz. I think he played for the Knicks previously. He's been around the league. He's seen everything possible. And of course, he still has the ability to shoot the ball with consistency at a high level. Bojan Bogdanovic, he's making $20 million this year and $19 million next year, but it's only partially guaranteed. It's guaranteed that he's making $2 million next year, with the rest being unguaranteed money. Bojan Bogdanovic is a bona fide scorer. Played for Brooklyn for a few years in the beginning of his career. Played for the Jazz. Played with the Pacers. He's averaging 15.8 points per game on 46% field goal shooting and 39% three-point shooting over his 11 seasons in the league. His best years, of course, came when he was with the Pistons last year. Due to circumstance, the Pistons never had a chance of making a playoff, so of course the ball's going to be in his hands mostly. However, his scoring was similar in previous years with the Jazz and the Pacers. He was playing alongside Victor Oladipo when he was at his best. He was playing alongside Donovan Mitchell in Utah. He still had very similar
20
numbers.
20 a game, 18, 20 a game.
Yeah, he averaged 18.4 points per game on 44% field goal shooting, 39% three-point shooting with the Jazz, and 16 points, 48% field goal shooting, at 41% with the Pacers. I like Bojan a lot. He's able to play the 3 and the 4. He's not the tallest. He's not the biggest, but he has size. He's able to grab rebounds. I mean, there's a season he averaged about 6 rebounds, I think, for the Pacers playing the 4. He's one of the best catch and shoot guys in the league. He shows up in the playoffs. He's averaging 18 points per game during his last 3 postseason appearances, including in 2021 when he dropped 32 points, 9 threes against the Clippers. Of course, they lost that game. However, that just goes to show Bojan, his performances carry over. He isn't just a regular season performer. He isn't just a 3-and-D guy. He's an all-around scorer. And to go to a team like the Knicks, who are, they're looking to contend. That's why they made these moves. They're looking to contend. They're one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference this year. I believe they are 4th in the Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. 5th or 4th or 5th. I know they lost tonight to the Mavericks, so they might have dropped down a game. But these were some great pickups.
They got about 2 games on the 76ers who are 5th, so they're still in good.
And of course they got rid of Evan Fournier, who, on the contrary of everything I just said, he was signed to a 4-year, $73 million contract with the Knicks back in 2021, and he's honestly been more or less taking up a roster spot for the last year and a half. Like, look at this, bro. He's making $18.9 million this season and has a $19 million team option next year. He's only played 3 games this year. Last season was clearly his worst year. He averaged 6.1 points per game on 33% field goal shooting and 30% three-point shooting. He would miss long stretches of the season, not due to injury, but due to his play. He didn't step foot on the court last year during the playoffs. He was brought on board to be a secondary scorer, to be someone who can provide a spark offensively at that guard position. He's a 6'7" guard. He has a tall frame. He was brought over from the Celtics in a signing trade, and his play it was underwhelming during his entire tenure there. So I know the Knicks organization, I know their fans are happy he's gone. And yeah, the Knicks just made 2 really great pickups, especially for a team that were clearly buyers heading into the trade deadline.
Yeah, I like the way those are some really good moves. I like the way that this Knicks roster is constructed. They're spearheaded by Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, but these aren't, these aren't top top players in the league, top 5, top 10 players in the league. So surrounding them with consistent play, surrounding them with consistent scoring and things of that sort, I think is really important. And like I said, I just really like the way this Knicks roster is constructed. They've got good scoring off the bench. They've got a lot of hustle guys with Josh Hart. It seems like they're one of the most well-rounded teams in the league. And
hold on. No, you said Jalen Brunson a top 10. Hey, my man's been getting MVP conversations. Jalen Brunson been getting MVP.
He's been hooping. He's definitely top 15 to me. Top 10, I'd probably have to go through him in my head. If he is, he's low top 10 or up in that eight, probably 8 at the highest. I'd have to go through all the players in my head again, but they've been hooping. They've been hooping for sure, and Brunson especially. I think this Knicks, being that this pickup, like you said, they're looking to contend right now, and it was good moves to make towards that goal. Like these aren't for the future. This is not looking for 3-4 years down the road. This is looking to put yourself in a better position right now, and they think they did that well.
Yeah, and like I said, Alec Burks, he's on an expiring contract, but honestly, $10.5 million. His value, what he brings to a team, is pretty much meeting the value of what his contract is and what it will probably future be, pending if he gets re-signed or any other team that picks him up. So they have it. And then about Bojan Bogdanovic, he's still locked in to his contract next year. So honestly, they picked up players who could be a continuing piece in the future. Then the Knicks, one big thing too that I like about this trade is that the Knicks shot an abysmal 29% from 3 in the playoffs last year. Like, I know you remember it when they beat the Cavs, and that was mostly due to how physical they were being on the boards. Mitchell Robinson was just tearing the house down. Josh Hart was out rebounding Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. So the team in general, they were just very physical. They weren't, but when they met against the Heat, a Heat that was pretty injured. Jimmy Butler had a sprained ankle in game 2, I believe. Mm-hmm. They still shot an abysmal 29% from 3. It was a struggle that would prove too tough to overcome against Jimmy Butler and the Heat. Jimmy Butler still dropped them off with a sprained ankle, and of course the rest of the Heat team were stroking it from 3. So you're not going to be able to beat that if you're shooting poorly and the other team is shooting magnificently. Now, they're still ranked 14th in three-point percentage this season, which was similar to how they were last year in the regular season. But the difference is, with the acquisition of Bojan Bogdanovic, with the acquisition of Alec Burks, I don't think that there's going to be nearly as significant of a drop-off in the playoffs. I don't think that's going to be present. Like you said, they are tied with the Bucks. The Bucks lost tonight as well against who did they play? The Bucks lost again tonight, and to the Timberwolves. The Bucks lost to the Timberwolves tonight, and now they're still tied with them for the 3rd seed, and they're about maybe a game and a half behind the Cavs for the 2nd seed. So there's very much still a chance for them to get up pretty high in the standings. We're still not even at the All-Star break yet. Almost there, not there yet. So the Knicks, as much as it pains me to say it, the Knicks are looking pretty good as we're starting to ramp up the intensity in the season. Julius Randle won't be out for a significant amount of time due to his dislocated shoulder. Jalen Brunson has been playing at a ridiculous level this year. Shout outs to him. We saw the flashes when it was with the Mavericks, and we all question the Mavericks. Why didn't you re-sign this guy? And then number 2, we question how he's going to be now alongside Julius Randle. Is he going to be able to step up, or will he kind of still remain in that number 2 option? All doubt has been cast aside, man.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was one of the people that were on the fence about him. I wasn't sure how he was gonna do as a number 1. Like you said, he's more than proved that he is capable of leading a team, being a true number 1 option. And I really want to see. I like Jalen Brunson. I really want to see him do well. Almost the biggest thing is almost to spite what people have said about him not being able to be a championship a number one option on a championship team because of his size. I'd really like to see him overcome that narrative, because I think that might change the narrative on players his size. I mean, we've seen a couple smaller guards take over the league. AI obviously he was our MVP, and we all know about him. IT had some special years, but for the most part, we haven't seen smaller guards be true, because he's 6'1", and so that's very short compared to even other point guards. Curry 6'4", Kyrie 6'3", Luka obviously 6'6", 6'7". So I would really like to see them do well this playoffs, just to kind of flip some narratives. As much as Knicks are kind of like the Cowboys of the NFL in terms of disliking them, but as much as I don't want to see the Knicks succeed, I would like to see Jalen Brunson succeed, and I want to see Julius Randle succeed as well, because he's had some interesting narratives on his career. People have ups and downs, very clear ups and downs in his career, but I think having some playoff success, like you said, shooting 29% from three last year with Bojan and Alec Burks, I don't expect that to happen. Not at all.
No,
I think if they're able to bringing that shooting to the team, being able to keep up with teams that are shooting well, that's going to be very important for them.
Yeah, like you said, you're just adding more offensive weapons to an already great team. Very great moves for the Knicks. I believe that they were probably the best team as far as the trade deadline is concerned. They definitely scored an A+ if I were to grade it. The Thunder, they also made some moves as well. They picked up veteran small forward Gordon Hayward. Don't blurry. Please don't make me blurry. He picked up veteran small forward Gordon Hayward, and the Hornets picked up Trey Mann, Davis Bertans, and Vasilije. I'm still trying to learn these names or pronounce these names. Vasilije Micic. That's how I'm going to say it. I'm sorry if I butchered his name. I apologize. But Gordon Hayward, he has an expiring $31 million contract. The Thunder, they're not too concerned about that money. The Hornets, of course, they're just opening up more cap space. They brought in Trey Mann, who was young. Vasilije Micic, he's 30, but this is his rookie year. He came from the Euro League. The Thunder, they've been playing tremendous basketball all year. They're currently in the three-way tie for the number one seed. The Nuggets are hanging up there. It's really the Nuggets, Timberwolves, Thunder, and Clippers. Those are the four teams fighting for that number one seed. It's going to be a close race to the finish, and it's probably going to be one of the years where we see teams purposely try to fall down or rise up in the rankings depending on matchups, because to be honest, you might not want to play the Mavericks in the first round. You might not want to play the Suns in the first round. It's going to be some tough matchups. So this might be one of the years where we see that. However, nonetheless, the Thunder, they've been playing tremendous ball. However, this team has damn near like zero playoff experience. Just 2 years ago, this was a lottery team. Just last year, they were a lottery team. We've seen flashes. However, this is the first year where everything is clicking. We're seeing great offense on some good defense. Sometimes their lack of size is a problem, especially with Chet being so he's tall, but he's so slim in his frame, and he needs to bulk up. He would definitely get taken advantage of. Pause. Especially as the postseason comes around. Gordon Hayward, he will be the vet that provides that familiarity, albeit the last time he played in the postseason was during the 2020 bubble season. Nonetheless, that's more than some of these other players can say. He has struggled staying on the court, playing a maximum of 52 games in the past 4 years. But when healthy, he can still put the ball in the basket from all areas on the floor. He can kick it out to the open man when drawing the help defender on a drive. He still has tread on his tires. I don't want people to think that Gordon Hayward is completely washed. Of course, he's not in an all-star level like he was in 2019. Of course, he is not what he was with the Jazz, not even what he was with the Celtics a few years in the year after he broke his ankle. But this is it's an expiring contract. There's really no harm that can be done in this move. The Hornets, on the other hand, they're massive sellers. They look to build a proper roster around LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. They traded away Terry Rozier to the Heat a few weeks ago, and now they're doing the same with Gordon Hayward. They get Trey Mann, who was the 18th pick from the 2021 draft. He hasn't found his role in the league yet. He is still he's a scoring guard for sure. Almost zero presence defensively, and nor is he a playmaker. He had a solid rookie year offensively. Averaged about 10.4 points per game on 39% 3-point shooting in about 60 games. That fell off in his sophomore year. He had a slump, dropped to 31% 3-point shooting in 67 games. And so far this year, he's only played 13 games this season, which will surely increase on a very, 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 very bad Hornets team. So hopefully he can find his role with them. Vasilije Micic. I'm sure I just pronounced his man's name about 4 different times on this pronouncing it. However, he had limited playing time in OKC, but when he finally got some PT, he's had some solid minutes. Nothing that is super standout-ish, but look, he's a 6'5" guard with some impressive court vision and a high basketball IQ. He won the EuroLeague MVP in 2021. He knows how to attack the basket well and is accurate passing the ball on the move. A ceiling for him very well be, growing into a backup point guard role, a court general per se, behind LaMelo Ball. I think that's a good pickup. Like the Hornets need players like this anyways. Not unproven, but players who can finally get the opportunity to prove and break out maybe a little bit more than their previous situations. Like I said, Trey Mann, he only played 13 games this year. He's still trying to find his role. Maybe he can do so on the Hornets. Micic as well. Davis Bertans, he's really going to be there just to shoot threes. That's the only thing that man can do at a decent level, being a forward. But I think it's a good trade for both teams.
Yeah. For the record, Pro Basketball Reference pronounces it Vasilije.
Vasilije. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
Vasilije.
that's per Pro Basketball Reference. So if that's still wrong, blame them. But yeah, like you said, I really wish the Thunder got a little bit more size at the trade deadline. They're 27th in the league in rebounds per game. And like you said, at times it has showed up that they've struggled. Like you said, Chet, of course, has the length, very tall, lanky player, but he doesn't quite have the build and the strength to go against stronger forwards and centers. So I would have liked to see them try and get some size, but nonetheless, I do think Gordon Hayward is a good pickup. Get a little bit of vet presence. This is a very young team. I don't know the exact numbers in terms of like average age, but I'm pretty sure it's probably one of the lowest in the league.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, they're led by SGA, of course, and Chet, who's technically a rookie. So anytime you're led by that, that's two very young players, very good players, but very young. So their lack of experience was that it's definitely good to get vet presence in the locker room, especially because we've seen almost a erasure of vet presence in the NBA. It seems like so many teams, especially the teams that really need them, the teams that need the vets the most, seems like they don't have them. The Hornets this year, the Rockets last year, just all the youngest teams seems like they're young throughout the lineup and they don't have anybody there. And that's why they stay in the positions that they are instead of getting players that can teach them the game and things of that sort. But on the other shoe, for the Hornets, like you said, the best teacher is in-game experience. That's the best way to learn. So like you said with Trey Mann and Micic, I think they getting those opportunities will definitely help expand their game. Getting more on-court action, of course, will definitely help, learn the pace, learn the flow of the offense a lot more, learn the flow of basketball, NBA basketball in general a lot more, considering that this is Micic's first year. So I agree with it being a very solid trade for both sides. I think there's upside for both of them, but I really wish the Thunder would have gotten some size and gotten some, rebounding at the very least. Some I think.
Oh, you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, bad. All right, I have to plug in my Ethernet cable. All right. Yeah, I agree. I think the Thunder definitely needs some size as well. Yeah, I had it plugged I didn't have my charger on I'm surprised. I'm
Yeah,
very
it was doing
surprised.
well.
So yeah, no
It was
crash
doing well.
catches. I know. That's why I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna take no more chances. I'm just gonna plug this shit in while he's talking. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that they definitely needed some size. Because man, just if we just really look at it, and of course, like just forget seeding right now and just look at some of these other bigs in the playoff hunt right now. Of course, Anthony Davis, right? We saw how dominant he was defensively last year in the postseason. Look at even of course, look at Rudy Gobert. We know Rudy Gobert has that narrative but being soft. Yeah, both of them have that narrative of being soft, but them boys are physical. They're strong when they really want to play, man. Both of them are strong bodies. Of course, the even the Clippers with bodies like Ivica Zubac, Big Zoo. That's a big boy. So
yeah, he's
you
one
don't
of,
want
like
to.
I said before, he's one of the underrated post players in the league. Like he on the boards, he is a force. He is a force to be reckoned with on the boards and down low.
And of course, let's not forget Jokic. Like big man, yeah, that is just cookies. So it's going to be chicken. I think the Thunder, but this year for the Thunder, I think they're not looking at it like, oh, this is just a year where they're like, let's see how far we can take this motherfucker.
Yeah, not finals. They're not finals or bust by any means.
Not at all. So, because look, going into this offseason, that trade also gives the Thunder some tremendous cap flexibility because they're setting themselves up to have about $141 million in salary this offseason. That's a lot of money. We can talk about size all we want right now. That's enough money to go get 3 big bodies down there. So it's this is perfect for a team who looks to be contending for the foreseeable future. That's why I really don't see a loss in this trade. If Gordon Hayward comes and he stinks up the joint, all right, well, I mean, he ain't really slowing nothing down because Trey Mann and Davis Bertans weren't playing that much for you anyways. So if Gordon Hayward stinks up the joint, you don't play him as much as you previously did. If he does play well, if he does come out and scores 10, 11, 12 points a game, it's a win-win, honestly. You're getting sap calorie for next season as well. So both teams, I think this was a win trade. Sticking with the Hornets, they traded forward PJ Washington and 2 second-round picks to the Mavericks for Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a 2027 first-round pick. The Mavericks, of course, they were expected to make a move by the deadline as they are fighting to
on that first round.
Yeah. Yeah, one of it is protected. Yep, it's a top 2 protected pick, so they're most likely going to be getting it. They're fighting to secure a top 6 seed in a very crowded and competitive conference. Over the offseason, over the summer, the Mavs acquired Grant Williams on a 4-year, $53 million sign-in trade with the Spurs. I think it was Reggie Bullock and some other people that were involved in it. But that was pretty much, they quickly realized that Grant Williams wasn't the man who fits this team. So they moved on to him for a slimmer. Like, yes, he's not as physically as strong as Grant Williams, yet he's a better offensive player than PJ Washington. He has improved scoring around the rim. We just saw him drop 43 points and 7 made threes 2 weeks ago against the Jazz. The Mavs are going to need him to find some consistency shooting outside of the arc. He's only shot 33.9% in his last 2 seasons after shooting 37.5% from deep in his first 3. But perhaps having an elite playmaker like Luka Doncic feeding him the ball may have a positive effect. Perhaps that's what's needed. You're going from, firstly, LaMelo Ball is never on the court, so we can't even say him. You're going from the Hornets to a team with literally a top 5 player in the league, and then another superstar in Kyrie Irving as your co-guard in the back court. And also, before I go on too, for Trey Mann and Davis Bertans, and that it must feel like a kidney shot going from a top seeded Thunder team to the shitty ass Charlotte Hornets. Like, that shit gotta sting, bro. Like, that has to suck.
Yeah, that's definitely a little rough. I wouldn't. Because I mean, in their situation, I guess it depends on what you value if you value team success or personal success, because personally they have opportunities, like we said, they have opportunities to really increase their game, getting more opportunities. But like you said, they are going from one of the best teams in the league to one of the worst teams in the league. So that's it. It all depends on their personal outlook on it.
It is. It does. Going back to the Mavericks Hornets trade, Grant Williams, he's been a career 37.8 3-point percent shooter, and he will be a floor spacer for LaMelo to feed on kickouts. You know how LaMelo's always going to be drawing double coverage. He loves to get to the rim as much as he likes to shoot, and with a floor spacer like Grant Williams out there who does shoot well, he be having some stinkers sometimes, bro. I ain't gonna lie, but shooting 37.8% for his career after he got his stroke right pause a few seasons ago or last year. He's definitely had some greater success. Like you said earlier, that 2027 protected pick is a top 2 protected first round pick. That's the real takeaway for the Hornets. They're continuing to stockpile their draft assets. I think that they now acquired 2 seconds and 2 first round picks through trades, one first round from the Heat and one from the Mavericks now.
Yeah, and
so it's
Grant Williams. He was having some rough ones, man. Like it just seems like if with him, he was either really good or really bad. And I've seen plenty of times where Luka's getting blitzed and you kick out to Grant Williams wide open and he misses the shot. So unfortunately, it's tough that fit didn't work out. I thought the fit would work well, but they weren't able to click as well as you would have thought they would have on paper. I really like the PJ Washington pickup. I really like that for the Mavericks. I think that he's going to be good for, like you said, he's going to thrive a lot more with having Kyrie and Luka in the backcourt as opposed to LaMelo and whoever the shooting guard even is on the Hornets. I don't even know off the top of my head. But
yeah,
I think with them taking the attention away, getting him some more opportunities, without as much defensive attention, I think that'll be really helpful for him and what he's able to do with scoring, especially. Not exactly a big rebounder, even though he is a forward. He's only 6'7". Not exactly a big presence down low, but I do think I like his explosiveness. I think he's a little fun. He's pretty fun to watch. So I think he should mesh pretty well with this Mavericks team.
And he's locked up for the next 3 years. He's on a 3-year contract, making about 17, I think, a year. So he's going to be with the team for a while, pending some ridiculous play that just warrants a trade or a release or some crazy mess. But just for what the trade was, he's going to be there for the foreseeable future. Another great trade that I like. The Pacers, they traded Buddy Hield to the Sixers for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks. The Pacers then sent Marcus Morris and a second-round pick to the Spurs for Doug McDermott, and they also ended up cutting Furkan Korkmaz. So this trade was, everybody on this team, or firstly, Buddy Hield, he made it clear to management that he wanted to be traded away after contract negotiations reached an impasse. He is an impending free agent with an expiring $18 million contract and is slated to be one of the more attractive free agents this offseason. And with him making, $18 million this season, that means he's probably going to be wanting a $23, $24, $25 million contract, somewhere in that range. He's going to be wanting to earn that money. That's how it is. Usually always just go up, especially when you have kind of the cachet that he has shooting the ball. Even with Embiid being out for the next month or so, the Sixers are still moving pieces to set their team up for the postseason. I like that. I like that they're still trying. They understand Embiid will be coming back. So when he does come back, how about we put some pieces around him so the transition back into the lineup is a little bit more fluid, a little bit more catered to he and Tyrese Maxey's play style. Buddy Hield's shooting numbers, they're down this year, but with context, he has taken about 3 fewer shots, and he's still a career 40% three-point shooter. So the man can shoot the ball with ease. He's able to make his shots. He got drafted by the Pelicans. He played with the Kings. Now he's with he just played with the Pacers, of course, for the last 3 seasons. The Pacers, they're a top scoring offensive unit, both as far as points per game goes and efficiency wise. There really wasn't a point keeping Buddy Hield into the summer. Y'all couldn't come to an agreement. Buddy Hield said he wanted to be gone. He did it very professionally. He still showed up to play. He didn't hold out. He didn't do any type of dramatic exit from the team. And he just made it known that he would like to go somewhere else where he can, if we're not going to make a contract work here, how about we just go somewhere else? Fine with that. The Pacers didn't need him either. And that's why the trade just seemed to be very fitting for both parties. The Sixers definitely needed to get him because they're shooting 36% from deep. That's 19th best in the league. Hield can provide a bit more firepower to their below average shooting. It's not going to come easy, however. Buddy Hield he's known as a shooter. So he's not going to be just left wide open on every play, every possession. He's going to have some people closing out to him. He's going to have some coverage on him. He's not going to be left wide open, especially in that corner spot. And defensively, Maxey and Hield in the backcourt, it does not sound ideal. But if Hield can find his rhythm consistently shooting the ball, I'm sure they take that trade off. I'm sure they'd take a little bit of weak defensive play in the backcourt if Tyrese Maxey is going off for 22, 23, 25 points a night and Buddy Hield can put up 15, making 5 threes a game or somewhere around that range. I'm sure they'll take that trade off. Then for the Pacers, this was really just they brought in Doug McDermott, who played for the Pacers 3 seasons before his stint with San Antonio. And while he's not taking shots at the same volume as Buddy Hield, McDermott's shooting still compensates the Pacers trading away Buddy. So it's their pickup, like they didn't really get a good return for Hield, but honestly, the way that the Pacers are playing, just picking up Doug McDermott is pretty decent in my opinion. They cut Furkan Korkmaz, of course. Marcus Morris was sent to the Spurs and released into the buyout market, so he's going to be a part of all the players who got traded and cut and will be looking to sign with probably contenders. There's teams like the Bucks who haven't the Bucks actually can't. They don't have enough cap space. But the Suns can, for example. The Sixers can as well. So we'll see how that goes with the buyout market. Oh yeah, imagine that.
But I think it's a pretty. I like it for the Sixers. The Pacers didn't really gain that much out of it for me. I don't know. I don't think they really. It wasn't a needle mover trade for the Pacers for me, but I do really like adding some shooting for the 76ers. I think him with Embiid will work really, really well. Just being a sniper, having that 3-point threat just take as much attention away from Embiid as well as taking them, complementing each other really well. Embiid being such a presence down low, also able to stretch the floor himself, as well as Buddy Hield being able to really stretch the floor is going to take attention away from Embiid, and then Embiid's also going to take attention away from Buddy Hield. So I think that they'll mesh really well. I really like that pickup for the 76ers. Like you said, sacrificing a little bit of defensive presence, especially since they traded Patrick Beverley in the backcourt, but getting that offensive boost is going to really help.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of Patrick Beverley, of course, he was traded from the Sixers to the Bucks. He announced his own trade. I think he's the first ever to do that. He said breaking news and announced that he got traded to he beat the Woj bomb. He beat Shams. He did it himself. I'm trying to look for the deal. I can't find it.
It was for campaign. It was for
Oh yeah, that's right. He was traded for campaign.
And a second.
I like that pickup for the Bucks because he's gonna be able to provide what campaign provided, which was, I don't want to say spotty shooting, occasional shooting. We've seen Patrick Beverley go off for 20 plus points this year. We've seen him do it in the past. He's going back to play with Doc Rivers, who he played with during his stint with the Clippers.
As well as the Sixers. Oh no, I'm sorry.
No. He just got here with the Sixers. Yeah.
But did
But he did before he went to the Sixers. He talked to Doc Rivers, so they clearly still had and still have a relationship of some sort. Plus, Patrick Beverley now will be bringing in some defensive presence to the Bucks. You know, remember they lost Drew Holiday. They lost. They took a step back defensively. Period. This season, Damian Lillard. He isn't the defensive presence. He's never has been. He's an offensive scorer first and foremost. He's a playmaker, shot creator. Patrick Beverley, he's gonna provide the energy. He's gonna provide the defense. He's gonna be up in your face. He's gonna want to take the challenge of guarding the best opposing guard on the team. He's gonna want that challenge, and I think that the Bucks will benefit from that. One interesting wrinkle in the fray is that, you know, Damian Lillard and Patrick Beverley had a little beef. You know, they had a little beef. It seems like every team that Patrick Beverley goes to now, he has a beef with play with Russell Westbrook. He had beef with. Now he's playing with Damian Lillard, which he has beef with. He even said he's like, you know, I got to get my relationship with Dame right because, you know, now we got to go win a chip. Which I like that attitude, I like that energy because, you know, nobody says you got to be friends to have success. Nobody. We have seen teams have success with turmoil in the locker room or with not even turmoil. I don't want to say that, but just disagreements amongst players, just players who just didn't vibe within one another.
Yeah.
So it definitely can be done. I like this trade for the Bucks for sure. Patrick Beverley, he's been bouncing around the league, but it just goes to show that he does have value somewhere. There's always going to be a team that wants him until he literally falls off a cliff and his value just drops tremendously. He reminds me of PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker bounced around so many teams, but he's always going to have a home on a team for what he does. He doesn't do a lot, but what he does do, he does very well. And that says sometimes that's all you need. I think that this is going to be a great pickup this will be a great pickup for the Bucks.
You know, I really like it for the Bucks. Losing Drew, obviously they took a big defensive step back, but they gained. You know, it kind of seems like with this trade, they're gaining back what Drew lost. I think they got, you know, they had Drew Holiday. He was a good offensive player, not great, and was a great defender. They got rid of him. They added Dame, so they got great scoring, but they traded away the defense. Now they got a good defender. So they're kind of getting the best of both worlds, having Dame being an excellent scorer, having but not as great defense, and then having Patrick Beverley being a really good defender, not as great on offense. So having those two together is kind of like, you know, equaling what Drew Holiday gave, you know, on both sides. So I really like that. He's from what I've heard, he's already pretty cool with Giannis. So even though he might have a little beef with Dame, him and Giannis are cool. So you know, like you said, obviously playing with Doc Rivers before, Doc knows how to use him. And so I think that this was a really good pickup for the Bucks. I think, you know, they only gave up Campaign, and Campaign is a solid player, good 3-and-D player. But it's I think what they gain in backcourt defense is a little bit better than what they're losing from Campaign.
I think really that, you know, the fact that Doc Rivers is familiar with Patrick Beverley and just that you have Dame Lillard and what's his name? Malik Beasley as your two main guards, that Beverley's defense is also like the other main reason that he got picked up. And the fact that, like I said, he's familiar with Doc Rivers, familiar with him. He just inherited this job. He picked it up literally mid-season. Hasn't had the best start to his tenure as Bucks head coach. I think he only won one game so far, but injuries and whatnot have been plaguing the Bucks. It's Patrick Beverley, of course, is not a humongous needle mover. He's 35. Like I said, he's not an offensive weapon where it's like, oh, well, we can't sit up here and double Damian Lillard, or we can't blitz Damian Lillard because we got Patrick Beverley out here on the perimeter ready to drop off. It ain't gonna be nothing like that. Like I say, he's 35 years old. It's not gonna be a crazy difference. However, I think that the Bucks will find some success playing him alongside Damian Lillard during certain stretches of the game. I think the Bucks will find success having him as a backup where it's you're not going to be left stranded defensively. I think you're not going to be left stranded. I think that's really what the main pickup was, is defense. I think that's literally what it was. Defense, and the fact that Doc Rivers knows Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley's best years came with Doc Rivers on the Clippers. So definitely a relationship there. It's definitely a short-term move as well. Like, look, like I said, the man's 35. His time in the league is coming to an end. He's probably going to continue to bounce around the league until his value, like I said, falls off a cliff. But like I said, it is for defense mostly. The Bucks are a championship caliber team as long as they can get their shit together under Doc Rivers. So yeah, it's a decent trade for what it was. The Bucks made a move, which I can't say for the Warriors, which I can't say for the Lakers, which I can't say for my Hawks. Those three teams didn't do anything.
And the Bulls as well.
The Bulls didn't. Well, Zach LaVine underwent surgery, so he couldn't be traded. They should have tried to do something with DeMar DeRozan. I'm not sure why.
They came out and said that they want him for the future. So, which
is just so dumb. The Bulls need to just blow that team up. Like, you're a forever 10th seed.
Yeah,
you're forever 10th seed. I can't even say you're the worst. You're a forever 10th seed. You're gonna be playing in play-in on the road.
Yeah, stuck in the play-in hell for a while.
Yeah, and now you're not even in a position where it's like, okay, well, we can make the play-in. At least we're playing at home. No, you're playing on the road. Like 2 years ago, we beat y'all to get into the play. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is
last year with the whole free throw mess. So
man, so it's a. I don't like what the Bulls are doing franchise-wise. I don't like what the Hawks are doing franchise-wise. The Warriors, that was a long shot trade as far as Klay Thompson was concerned.
Well, actually, another thing about the Bulls, regarding the Bulls, the Warriors tried to trade Kuminga to the Bulls for Caruso. Obviously, there's some more pieces around there, but the Bulls
are very glad they didn't do that.
I'm ecstatic that they didn't trade Kuminga, but the Bulls made Caruso an untouchable.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, what the hell are you doing?
That is not an untouchable caliber player. Caruso is a great player. Don't get me wrong. Any team would love to have Alex Caruso, but that is not an untouchable caliber player. You have a chance to get Jonathan Kuminga, and you holding on to Alex Caruso,
especially after you drafted Patrick Williams, who hasn't done anything at that forward position. Kuminga could have came in and literally, with that freedom to play that he would have had with the Bulls, I think who's their coach? Billy Donovan. He would have had way more success. You see what he's doing right now alongside a star in Stephen Curry. Now it's going to be similar, of course, not the same, but similar with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. And you said, let's make Alex Caruso untouchable. So Chicago is a cesspool. The Hawks are very disappointing. Like I said, the Warriors, there's going to be a long shot trading away Klay Thompson. I believe he was – I think they played tonight. I don't even think he –
played the Pacers tonight, and they benched
him. I don't think did he even start? I don't think he started.
No, he didn't. They put Brandon Podge in to start.
So it's man, this is sad to see.
His birthday. He almost got traded on his birthday and then got benched on his birthday.
So it's crazy to see that this is the end of an era for sure. We're seeing him reach that not plateau, but he's starting to fall off that cliff. Or really, he's already have reaching bench levels with the Splash Bros. It's supposed to be Splash Bros till y'all die, and now one's on the starting lineup and one's on the bench. The Warriors kept Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins said this is where he wants to stay. Stephen Curry, after that game against the Pacers, he says, yeah, I'm fine with how this team looks after the All-Star break. He talked to management or front office. He's in communication with them, as he said. The Lakers are playing right now. They are down 3 points to the Nuggets. Well, now 5 points to the Nuggets with a minute 30 left. They won their last three on a road. Now they're back home. So, the tired legs.
Points.
So they might lose this one against the Nuggets. However, the Lakers are just one of those teams where, just like last year, they're gonna mess around, get into the play-in, and they're gonna just have to fight for their lives. I really think that's what it's gonna be. They still have a chance to get up and creep into that 6th spot. I'm not gonna doubt what LeBron James has been doing. Anthony Davis has been staying healthy. Staying healthy on the court. LeBron James as well. They have the pieces around to build a good team. Jackson Hayes has been getting more playing time. He's been able to provide some size on that defensive end. We saw it tonight we were seeing it tonight against the Nuggets. However, I'm sure that they could have. LeBron would have wanted to bring somebody on board to add a little bit more of firepower to the team.
They need to shoot, bro. They bottom in the league in 3-point attempts. They average 30 attempts a game. The league leader, Boston Celtics, averaged 43. They cannot. And tonight against the Nuggets, they shot 8 of 24 for 3. So they just cannot. I mean, they don't have any real threats from 3-point range. They play like, they almost look like an old early 2000s team the way they construct it. And they would have probably killed back then, but it's not the early 2000s. You have to be able to shoot the ball to be successful in this league in 2023, 2024.
Yeah,
and just
we look at some of these other pickups, like the Sixers getting Buddy Hield, the Knicks getting Alec Burke and Bojan Bogdanovic. Of course, salary cap and whatnot, but what was preventing a move like that from happening? Even the who picked them up? The Hornets getting Seth Curry. What happened? Like, why y'all couldn't go and find any shooter that was traded during this deadline? I don't know. Like, you're absolutely right. The Lakers are a pitiful shooting team. They get a lot of points inside and in transition, which, it's cool when y'all are clicking, but now when the other team is shooting very well, like, for example, Michael Porter Jr. tonight, he's having an amazing game. He started the game off strong and he's continuing it. So, look, they just threw another lob. Michael Porter Jr. is going crazy. So now you got the other team going. Your other team is racking up these points. It was a close game, and now when Taurean Prince is your leading 3-point shooter, you're in trouble. The Hawks.
Now all is not lost. Spencer Dinwiddie was waived.
He were tweeting to be patient, LA. He's coming. That's what he tweeted out. Even with that, if Dinwiddie doesn't show up like he did with the Mavs 2 years ago,
he's not necessarily
I'm about to say he's going to be much of nothing
shooter.
Right.
So we'll have to see. But yeah, just disappointing for them.
It is.
Surprised LeBron didn't tweet out, "Is it me again?" I don't know. That's just I don't understand certain teams across all sports when trade deadline comes and you're in a spot of mediocrity. Mediocrity is the worst position in sports to be in for me. Like, if you're in rebuild mode, a clear rebuild mode, I understand that. If you're trying to contend, obviously that's a really good spot to be. But to just be stuck in the middle of nothing with no movement either way, it's annoying as a fan to watch. And I'm sure it's annoying for the players. It's just an ugly spot to be in. And all 4 of the teams we just mentioned seem to be in that exact spot. That, like, the teams that need to be making moves the most don't make the moves.
They don't. The Hawks are another one of them. I've literally sat up here and watched them be mediocre my entire life, with just a few bright spots in between. Right now, we're actually below the Bulls. We're the 10th seed, 22 and 29. 22 and 29. We're 12 and 14 at home. We're not a good team. We're a very bad team. We had a good little run against. Trae Young had an amazing little gauntlet of games going against KD and Curry and LeBron on back-to-back nights or back-to-back games. But this team is just mediocre, led by Landry Fields as GM. We didn't make a single move. We have players where it's like they're expendable. Clint Capella is expendable. Honestly, Bogdanovic is expendable. I didn't want DeJounte Murray to be traded, so I'm glad he stayed. But DeAndre Hunter is expendable. Sadiq Bey is expendable. We have so many, like, honestly, bro. Trae Young and Jalen Johnson and DeJounte Murray, in my eyes, are the three players that don't need to be traded. They don't need to be put in trade talk unless especially not Jalen Johnson or Onyeka Okongwu. If the only time I would like to hear DeJounte Murray in trade talk is if we're getting a sizable compensation, not no damn D'Angelo Russell. I can't believe that was a real possibility, quote unquote. I knew that shit was bullshit because I wish I would have woken up to a headline of D'Angelo Russell heading to Atlanta. I would have burned down State Farm Arena.
For that is nasty,
bro.
Nasty.
So that would have been horrible. But yeah, the Hawks just remain stagnant. Really, all three of the teams remain stagnant, and these are teams where it's like, first, the expectations were higher, or were high of all these teams preseason. And I'd say expectations for the Hawks were high. Clearly not no second, third seed. But dude, we 22 and 29 by the All-Star break. It looks like this is a horrible showing.
It's kind of crazy.
The other year we were going above and below 500, right above and below, bro. We haven't even met 500 yet. So and we're way below 500. So we're 43% win percentage right now. So it's just been very frustrating to watch. I don't get it. We need to. It starts at management, I think, because you've been unsuccessful at building a team around Trae Young. You firstly, number one, you traded away. This was under Travis Schlenk, but you traded away Luka Doncic. All right. In hindsight, of course, it's you're an idiot for doing so. If you really look at it in the present day, Trae Young is not a bad player. Trae Young provides star level value to this team. Of course, Luka Doncic is better, but that's hindsight. But even then, you didn't lose by getting Trae Young, yet you still have failed to provide some type of foundation around him. He's never played with an all-star teammate. So, and the fact that some of these players are still here from the mediocre seasons, from the playoff seasons, from the seasons where we were in the play-in, and we're just seeing much of the same. In fact, we're regressing. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. I know there's more that goes into it when making these trades and such, but I think I have the right to be upset because this isn't just a 1 year thing. Look, we just traded John Collins in the offseason and got goddamn Rudy Gay and Patty Mills. And Rudy Gay is not even on his team anymore. So we held on to someone 2 years too long, and we got Rudy Gay out of it and Patrick Mills. So
I go, that's kind of crazy. I got a stat for you. Last 250 games. I'm sure if I tell you, you'd be able to guess, but
we're right at 500, ain't we?
Yep, 125 and 125.
Yep. So quite literally, we are the definition. Like if you open up the dictionary and you flip to the M chapter and you go to ME, finding mediocre, you're gonna see the picture of the Pac-Man Hawks logo, and it will literally show that throughout our team history, we have been at the best above average. That's literally what it is. At best, we have never had the 2020 15 Hawks, 2021 Hawks when we had that Cinderella run, dog. I'm not counting that shit. We have never had a serious contending run. It's always been
never consistent. It's always
never
1 year at a time.
So it's just very frustrating. Very disappointed in this team. Very disappointed in the Warriors as well as staying packed. Now, I said I didn't think Klay Thompson was going to be traded, but you did have to make a move when you are still trying. You're trying to contend with an aging veteran star in Stephen Curry. Who knows the amount of tread he has left on his tires? It seems like he has a lot. However, do you really want to test that out by letting him just have these amazing performances in a losing effort, not making a playoffs or barely scraping by as a play-in team, and now you're going to have to fight for your lives in the play-in game? That's just not something that you want to do with how your team is constructed. I was saying, like, it's tough.
They're behind the Jazz, and I'm sure if Curry needs to put this team on his back, if there's anybody I give the benefit of the doubt, he's one of those players. Easy. But at this point, like, what I feel the same way that you do about the Hawks. I mean, like what? It's just sinking into mediocrity, sinking into accepting. Like you said, you got Steph Curry on his last couple of years. Of course, you got some pieces that look good for the future. You got Kuminga, Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski, TJD. A lot of these players look really good. They're not Stephen Curry, and you
Right.
still have one of the best players in the league, a top 10 player in the league, and it's still giving you, at 36 years old, still giving you these performances. You need to be in win now mode. Unless you're going to trade Curry and get something crazy for him, you need to be focused on building around what you still have. So
Don't worry. He'll be in a Lakers uniform soon enough. He's gonna talk to LeBron during the All-Star games. I'll talk to LeBron during the All-Star game, and don't worry, he's gonna be in a Lakers jersey soon enough. Y'all can have Draymond Green and Klay Thompson lead the team next year.
Absolutely not.
I think so. Now, moving on to the UFC, we have UFC 298 in 2 weeks, Saturday, February 17th. Headlined by Alexander the Great Volkanovski versus the Matador, Ilia Topuria. The co-main event is Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. Welterweight division is Jeff Neal versus Ian Gary. Ian Gary, who unfortunately could not fight against Vicente Luque in UFC 297 due to pneumonia. He's back, and he will be fighting against Jeff Neal. We got Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. Look, I'm telling you, the UFC and MMA is the only league or the only organization where I can pronounce these foreign ass names with absolutely no stutters, no mistakes. Every other league, unless it's an old team, like look, I can pronounce the hell out of Vladimir Radmanovic. I just gave that's a who that is name, but I can't give that to you no more. Peja Stojakovic and Giannis Antetokounmpo. I can get all these players right. But boy, what's his name? Vasily Michik.
Yeah,
man.
Already.
Hey man, I was struggling, and Ryan Archidiakano, boy, I'm going back to phonics class with that one. Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov is rounding off the main card. Of course, the storyline is mainly between Volkanovski and Ilia Topuria, but that is not to understate the rest of the card. We have some great bouts. Volk, he is arguably the most dominant featherweight champ in UFC history. He is undefeated in that division. He is since winning that title against Max Holloway in 2019. He beat Max Holloway 3 times. He beat the likes of Brian Ortega. He beat the Korean Zombie. He beat Yair Rodriguez. He fought Islam Makhachev in the lightweight division in an attempt to get double champ status back in 2020. Literally last year, February 11, 2023, in an amazing. That was this year. That was the most recent one. The first one, he had a training camp. They went to a 5-round decision. It was a really close fight. Some people had it going Volk's way. I thought it was scored correctly in Islam's favor. However, he showed that he can compete in that heavy division against one of the high pound for pound ranking fighters in Islam Makhachev. They fought again in October, and that's the fight that you're referencing on short notice. He stated recently that before that fight back in October, where he was knocked out via head kick and follow-up ground and pound punches, he was drinking every day. And he came in on 11 days notice and fought him. Now, firstly, that's dumb as shit. You shouldn't do that. I know, and his reasoning was that he gets into a dark place when he's not fighting, like fight camp and fighting in the ring. It keeps him sane. It keeps him going. That's his motivation for life. And that goes into a whole nother conversation of mental health in sports and mental health in combat sports. However, we saw what happened. You took that chance. You jumped out into the deep end against a player or against a fighter the caliber of Islam Makhachev, someone who doesn't drink, someone who doesn't smoke, someone who doesn't take that time off from the gym. He's 100% dedicated every time. Every year or every day is training day for him. That's how them Dagestanis get down. And we saw it happen in the first round. He got knocked out. That was a dominant performance by Islam Makhachev. This is the first time Alexander Volkanovski has been finishing his career. He is 35 years old. He's 35 years old, so we got to put that into play. He's going against an absolute killer in Ilia Topuria, the Matador, undefeated fighter, 14 wins, 0 losses, 4 wins by KO, 8 submissions. His last fight was an absolute pisser of a fight against Josh Emmett, where he just put the paws on him. Josh Emmett is essentially the featherweight gatekeeper of the UFC. If you want to get a title shot, you're going to have to go through him. And Josh Emmett hits like a truck. But Ilia Topuria literally put on such a flawless performance, being able to outstrike the heavy hitter in the 5-round decision victory. Bryce Mitchell, he choked. Bryce Mitchell was undefeated when they fought. He choked him out via an arm triangle. He won. His fight against Ryan Hall was just an absolute one-sided beatdown against a butt-scooting jiu-jitsu practitioner. His fight against Jai Herbert was very good as well. Look, I know Alexander Volkanovski's caliber of fighter. He's one of the best to do it. Like I said, he's arguably the most dominant champion in featherweight history. And that's saying something with the champions that division has seen, such as Max Holloway and Jose Aldo. However, he's 35 years old, and we do see fighters reach a point in their career where, stuff starts ticking down. You start to reach that downward a part of your career. You're 35 years old. You're just coming off of a knockout just in October. I've never been knocked out, so I'm not sure the recovery process. But from what I hear from veteran fighters is that your chin, your chin is now compromised. We've seen him take some heavy hits from the likes of Max Holloway. We've seen him be in trouble in submissions from the likes of Brian Ortega. So we and Ilia Topuria is such a well-rounded fighter, especially with his striking. He strings together his combos so fluidly, and he has the power to match. I think that this is going to be Alexander Volkanovski's toughest challenge, especially with the context of him just being knocked out for the first time in his career. He's going against a fighter with just so much confidence. In fact, the man, he's producing a documentary called The Road. Let me see what it says. He's producing a documentary called Road to the Belt to be released after UFC 289. And in his UFC or in his Instagram bio, he put himself as UFC World Champion. So he just has the ultimate confidence that he's speaking affirmations, essentially. He's so confident in his ability that he believes that he's going to beat Alexander Volkanovski decisively. I know Volk is going to be looking to serve him some humble pie, as he would say, but I think this is going to be a very, very, very tough fight for Volkanovski.
I agree wholeheartedly. I like you said, I think it's going to be his toughest challenge yet. Obviously, age coming into play, but I do think he has something to obviously gain out of this fight. I think this important. Since he lost, of course, by knockout by Islam a couple months ago, I think that being able to come back to the featherweight will be to his benefit. He gets to train like a featherweight rather than having to train like a lightweight. And of course, last time on 11 days notice, it's hard to even really count. I mean, obviously we count it, but it's hard to even really look at that as a absolute, knowing all the context of that fight, knowing that he took it on 11 days. Like you say, he was drinking every day before he even accepted the fight. So knowing all of that around that fight, it's a little bit, you can't look at that in a vacuum. But I agree. Like you said, toughest challenge yet. He's going against a straight up killer. I need to do a little bit more of a deep dive into Ilia's fights. I'm going to go and, get my chance to watch that this weekend. But I'm just looking at the numbers, what he did against Josh Emmett, outstruck him by almost double, getting the arm triangle on Bryce Mitchell, and then 3 TKOs or 3 knockouts before that. So it's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be a very, very tough fight for Volk. And I think going into it, I'll have to get my keys and what I think he'll need to do after I watch Ilia a little bit more. But I agree with almost everything you said, or pretty much everything you said.
So I know you said you can't look at that loss to Islam in a vacuum, which I agree with, but that's why I just I never got that decision. I thought it was very rushed because firstly, that fight was so close that he was going to get a rematch if he wanted it regardless. But you're taking it on such short notice because you felt like you needed to get back in a cage, which, okay, I understand that. But now you got to think that you're not just a contender fighting for a lightweight belt. You're the champion of the featherweight division fighting for the lightweight belt. So you still got people eyeing you, watching you, ready to challenge you. And with all the news around Volk fighting Islam and this and that, Ilia was sneakily becoming a top contender in the division. Excuse me. He was sneakily becoming a top contender in the division. If you look at from he only had one fight in 2023, which was against Josh Emmett. But before then, when he fought on UFC 282 against Bryce Mitchell, that's when people really found out who Ilia Topuria was. The first time I watched him, when I really said, "Oh wow, Ilia, he's the real deal," was against Ryan Hall when it was on the Poirier versus McGregor card. When it was just like, bro, this man is just sparking him, not letting Ryan Hall, who was so feared as a submission specialist, he didn't let him do anything. So Ilia is like I said, he has all the confidence in the world. He saw you get knocked out, so he knows that you can be finished. It's not like you have this mystique about you. Before the Islam fight, where he got knocked out in October, when he survived those just I don't know how he survived those submission attempts against Brian Ortega. He was in one of the tightest guillotines I saw that didn't result in a tap. His head was literally turning purple in that submission, and he survived. And then it was an arm triangle that Brian Ortega locked on. That was this close. Brian Ortega was literally this close. Any other man, Brian Ortega would have been champ. He would have finished him. But Alexander the Great Volkanovski managed to survive and win against Max Holloway. Max Holloway, who is one of the best featherweights ever, who is one of the premier UFC fighters on the roster. He will be fighting on UFC 300 against Justin Gaethje for the BMF belt. He beat him 3 times. So there was a mystique to Alexander Volkanovski prior to the loss to Islam Makhachev. But now I'm looking at it like, look, if I'm Ilia Topuria, I'm looking at it like, look, hey, I know what I got behind these hands. I know what I can do in the grappling game. I know I can knock you out because I just seen it happen to you against Islam Makhachev. I just saw it. So I think that just adds on to the amount of confidence that Ilia has, and he backs it up. Like I said, he pieced Josh Emmett up to a 5-round decision. If you looked at Josh Emmett's face, like if you watch that fight and you look at Josh Emmett's face and then you look at Ilia Topuria's face, it looks like Josh Emmett got hit in the face with a brick, like dead ass. His face was a goddamn mess. How nasty it looked. So it's hard to say that fight against Islam didn't damage the aura surrounding him, and it's yet to be seen, but we'll see how it damaged his psyche. We'll see how it damaged his ability to take a hit. We'll see how it damaged his fighting style. Even look, when you're younger, we all know this. When you're younger, you can do some of the stuff that you can get away with brawls. You can get away with taking some hard hits. You can get away with it. Now you're 35 years old and you just got knocked out in October. It's going to be something that you have to be cautious of. Now, this is not to say just because you got knocked out, it isn't you can't come back from this. We saw Alex Pereira get just absolutely put to sleep by Israel Adesanya. Then he came back a few months later, beat Jan Blachowicz, and then a few months after that, win the UFC light heavyweight championship. So it's possible, of course. We're not saying that. Georges St. Pierre did the same thing as well after he was knocked out by Matt Hughes. It isn't a foreign thing. However, we just have to keep that in mind with Volkanovski's age and the manner in which he was finished and the caliber of fighter that he's going up against in Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, it's definitely a little different knowing you can get touched up. I definitely agree with that. Knowing that he is like not invincible, as he's might have been seen in the past, it's definitely a little different. And I think, of course, Volk being 35, health and overall, just your body isn't the same as you are as younger. That definitely comes into play. But with age also comes experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Ilia definitely, if you look at the experience between the two, Volk has a very, very clear advantage in that department. So, very strengths and weaknesses on each side regarding age and things of that sort. So, I'll have to, like I said, I'm gonna dive personally into Ilia a little bit more because I don't know, as not as informed about him, but we'll definitely be back to talk about that or discuss that fight.
Definitely, and also you'll enjoy his fight style as well. He is definitely the type to he's a striker first and foremost. However, he's very technical with it. Like everything he does is just so mechanically sound and it's so crisp, and you can hear and it's like you can feel the impact almost with the way he strikes through the screen. His fight against Josh Emmett was absolutely amazing. If you want to see him just absolutely embarrass an opponent, his fight against Ryan Hall was very good to watch as well. That's the one that put me on to him. But yeah, hey, and this is not to say I'm doubting Volkanovski. It's not to say that at all. It's just something that we have to actually sit up here and look where against Yair Rodriguez. Look, I said with that's man, I got Volk all day. He's coming off of a strong performance against Islam in the first fight. He wasn't hurt too badly. And of course, just the experience, like we said, and the dominance that he's shown in that division, I say it was going to carry over into that fight against Yair Rodriguez. That third fight against Max Holloway, it wasn't even nearly as close as the first two fights against him. Now, look, hey, so much can change. All it takes is one fight. And we can look at stats, we can look at prior fights, and we can look at this and that. But at the end of the day, we come to fighting. It's the most volatile sport there is. We have seen it happen. We have seen it happen where the seemingly untouchable gets touched and they lose. And there's only a few that hasn't. John Jones, Floyd Mayweather, and Khabib. Everyone else, they have fallen. There's certain people where it's like, man, I would have never thought this would happen, and it happened. So it's just one of those things where we're going to have to keep that in consideration against a fighter such as Ilia Topuria, he is just riding such a wave of momentum and confidence, and I know he believes everything he's saying, and I love that out of him. I do the same thing. It's like one of my coaches, he says that you have to be delusional with yourself, and delusional in a way of no matter who you're going against, no matter what arena the fight takes place in, know that I can hurt you. I can knock you out. I can beat you. You have to. You can't look at fighting against Alex Volkanovski and look at his previous record and say, oh man, he's undefeated in the featherweight division since winning the belt in 2019 and this and that, and he's blah blah blah. You can't look at him like that. And Ilia Topuria isn't the one to do that. He's looking right through him, if anything. He's looking through him and looking straight at that goddamn belt, which I personally like seeing. I like seeing that confidence out of a fighter. It makes me firstly, it motivates me, and it makes for a very entertaining bout. I love to see a fighter have the utmost confidence in themselves. The co-main event, Paulo Costa versus Robert Whittaker. This is a very interesting matchup as far as their past fights have gone. Look at Paulo Costa. He hasn't fought since 2022. This last fight was against Luke Rockhold, and let's be real, that wasn't the most impressive outing, not at all. So it's he has something to prove, because ever since he lost to Israel Adesanya in 2020, his career just it's seemingly his mystique isn't there either. Excuse me. His mystique isn't there either. His nickname is the Eraser. However, after Israel Adesanya dispatched of him pretty handedly in 2 rounds of a 5-round fight, he went on to lose a decision against Marvin Vettori. He got a unanimous decision against Luke Rockhold, but it wasn't a very dominant win against an Asian former champion. His best performance was against Yoel Romero, where he was the only person to really walk him down and give Yoel Romero a run for his money as far as taking some of these shots are concerned. And then Robert Whittaker, on the other hand, he just got beat by now middleweight champ Dricus du Plessis, and he didn't just get beat; he got finished, TKO, ground and pound. It was definitely it was an ugly performance of Robert Whittaker, something that I'm sure he wants to wash the taste out of his mouth with a very decisive win against Paulo Costa. But looking at the title picture, Robert Whittaker will love to run that fight back with Dricus du Plessis. He will love to get another chance to redeem himself and get another chance at the belt. The last time he fought for the belt was against Israel Adesanya back in 2022. He had to earn his way back there. He was formerly the undisputed champ in 2019 when he lost the belt to Izzy, and that kickstarted Izzy's reign on top. And he hasn't been able to recapture that elusive title. So hopefully with a win against DDP, he's back up in that conversation. He will be, or another win against Paulo Costa, he's back up in that conversation. And the same goes for Paulo Costa as well. He needs this win more than anything. This is a very, very big fight for Paulo Costa. We look at here, and he has withdrawn for multiple bouts. He against Robert Whittaker, Jared Cannonier. I think he had a fight withdrawn against Vicente Luque. He had 5 canceled fights since 2021. So his reputation is in the gutter right now. So this is a very, 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 very big fight for Paulo Costa, and it can very much so dictate the title picture in the middleweight division to come. What's your thoughts on the co-main event between Robert Whittaker and Paulo Costa?
I agree with a lot of what you said. Both fighters have a lot to prove. Paulo Costa used to be one of the ones I used to really look out for, but like you said, his reputation is it's a little bit in the gutter right now. And Robert Whittaker is looking to get back to the status that he was before, especially. So, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Exactly what I was thinking. Both fighters just have. It's a very important fight for both fighters legacy wise. Just going forward, it's gonna shape up how their careers are gonna go going forward.
It is, and that's why I'm really interested to see this co-main event just as much as I am to see the main event between Volk and Ilia. Like, look, it might not be for a title, but it's very important for the title picture. Same goes for, well, not I'm gonna say the exact same, but well. I'm gonna skip that fight and go to this one first. It is the same thing for Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. Merab Dvalishvili, known training partner and friend of Aljamain Sterling, who was a former UFC bantamweight champion. He now is going to be fighting, I think, UFC 299 against what's his name, Davison Figueiredo. Yeah, Davison Figueiredo in the 145. No. Who is Aljamain Sterling fighting next? Let me see. Regardless though, he will be
Calvin Kattar.
Who? Calvin Kattar. That's what it is. Calvin Kattar. Yep, Calvin Kattar. So Merab Dvalishvili is finally getting his chance at a legitimate contender in Henry Cejudo, a former 2-time double champ, not even 2-time, former double champ, held the UFC flyweight and bantamweight strap at the same time. He is an Olympic gold medalist. It's an interesting matchup because Merab, he isn't the best striker. but we have seen this man shoot 50 takedowns in a fight, literally. So he is very much so a volume fighter as far as the takedown. I'm gonna want to say not consistency. The amount of takedowns that he attempts, and takedown attempts are concerned. He's very volume wise. He will shoot, miss, shoot again. Very much so turning into a wrestling match almost, which is a very interesting style. But now you're going against Henry Cejudo, who not just have some very technical striking, he's an Olympic goddamn gold medalist, the highest tier you can be. So it's going to be interesting to see how Henry Cejudo's takedown defense is going to hold up against Merab's just psychotic nature of just pressuring you with his grappling. This also has implications for the title picture as well. Henry Cejudo lost to Aljamain Sterling in his first title fight since, it was a minute before his fight. He had a fight in like 3 years, I think, before he fought Aljamain Sterling and lost. Now Merab is the sole man in the 135 division. He doesn't have to worry about stepping on Aljamain Sterling's toes. He made it very clear that he wasn't going to fight his teammate, training partner, and friend. So now that Aljamain Sterling lost his belt to Sean O'Malley and he moved up into the 145 division, this is Merab's chance to, beat if he beats Henry Cejudo and Sean O'Malley, and whoever wins Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera at UFC 299, Merab's next in line. And just as much can be said for Henry Cejudo. If Henry Cejudo gets a very decisive victory, he's right back in the title picture. So that's another big fight as far as the title picture in the bantamweight division is concerned.
Yeah. What's it called? Merab is also he can also touch you up. We saw him against Yan. He touched him up. And so I think that one, as far as I didn't know the title implication as much as that were what they were, but going into that fight, I need to do a little bit more diving on those two fighters as well, because I don't know as much as I'm still getting into. For those who don't know, I'm not, Tony is the fighter. He knows a lot more about this than me. I'm still getting into the UFC for real. But that one's gonna be interesting to watch. I'm mainly focused on the main event and the co-main event. Those are really my specialties. But I'm gonna do a little bit, Rich, because I'm trying to build my knowledge base in the UFC as well, especially being the co-host of a fighter. So
yeah. That's what this is here for. Like we finna start talking about baseball soon, and I know not a damn thing about a single statistic of baseball. I just look at it and I know when some shit is trash and I know when some shit is good in baseball. So I'm a very casual viewer. So that's really what this is too. Like building knowledge on each other, because eventually, this show is really about everything. I want eventually to start talking about goddamn water polo if that shit blows up or whatever. I don't care. So this is what it is, right? So this is literally what it is. And of course, that's what we need too. Like when you talk about football, when you bring up certain schemes, when you bring up certain play designs that teams run, it makes me go and start looking at more film and like starting to recognize certain formations. It makes me start to recognize certain tendencies that teams do, because of course anybody can say one team runs good and the other doesn't, but what type of runs are effective? Do you notice that this team runs better up the middle versus bouncing out to the outside? Or do you notice that they run great on stretch or toss plays rather than the outside zone? You know what I'm saying? Same thing with fighters and fighting. It's one of those things that it comes with watching even highlights. Like you don't have to watch the full fight, even highlights of previous fights. Like again, the Merab versus Peter Yan fight, that really set up this Henry Cejudo fight, because the man won by literally pressing him against the cage and just completely drowning him in volume takedowns, not giving Peter Yan the space to box. If you look at Merab Divashvili's previous opponents. Excuse me. He gave Merab Dvalishvili's previous opponents. Let me look this up. He fought against Peter Yan, his last fight, which, of course, he said drowned him out. Didn't give him a chance to really strike. Peter Yan is very much so a boxer. He's a Russian boxer. Jose Aldo, he's another striker. He's I don't say he's a kickboxer, kind of a Muay Thai style, very known for his leg kicks. He's a veteran of the game, former featherweight champion. He's a striker. 2021, Marlon Moraes he's beat. Cody Stamen. These are all strikers that Merab has faced. He hasn't really faced a pure grappler or a very well accredited grappler like Henry Cejudo. So this fight is going to be very interesting to see from that perspective. And then finally, Ian Gary versus Jeff Neal. I'm just ready to see if Ian Gary can kind of shut his haters up. Not that I'm a fan of his or anything. I do like watching him fight. He kind of dug himself this pit with his whole the jokes being made about his wife and how he missed the press conference of UFC 297 and just a lot of different things. Or UFC 297. So Ian Gary versus Jeff Neal, that was a fight that was meant to take place before, fell through. Now it's back. I like both of these fighters in the welterweight division. 2 championship caliber athletes. I'm super excited to see that one, bro.
I'm gonna be on the
as we move on. Yes, bro. Just watch that whole card. It's gonna be a very entertaining card. You won't go wrong. All of those fights are gonna end by, if it's not a knockout or a submission, it's gonna be a very close banger of a decision. 100%. All of those fights. But before we move on to the NFL awards that were announced earlier in the night, we're gonna have a little fun. Perhaps we'll have a little fun tonight. Let's take a look at some obscure NBA All-Stars. Some players that I did some research on because I like weird stuff like this. I like looking at weird little outliers in sports history. And because we all know that the Pro Bowl, you can elect not to play in it. And when that happens, we'll get Pro Bowlers such as Tyler Huntley and Mitchell Trubisky. That's cool. So it's not as odd to see someone like that in a Pro Bowl. Now, we look at the All-Star game, it's pretty much the same faces you'll see. LeBron James's, Stephen Curry's, Anthony Davis's, the most well-known and superstar caliber players who are consistently performing at a high basis. But then there's some, like I said, outliers. One of my favorite ones to always reference, Mo Williams, former Cavs point guard, played for the Celtics as well, played for the Bucks, played for the Clippers. His best years probably came with, definitely the Bucks and the Cavs. In 2009, he made the All-Star game. He replaced an injured Chris Bosh, who pulled out due to injury. I believe he had something wrong with his knees. Mo Williams, he wasn't voted in by the fans. He wasn't named a reserve by the coaches. And David Stern didn't even select him to replace an injured Jameer Nelson. That's another one. An injured Jameer Nelson. Ray Allen got selected. So Mo Williams and his teammates believed he was snubbed. So did the coach. And they made their statements public, saying that they were the only team in the top 5 in the league without more than one All-Star, which was true at the time. LeBron, he even called it a total smack in the face. He was averaging 17 points per game alongside LeBron, and he was a key part to the Cavs' 78% winning percentage in the Eastern Conference up to that point. In the All-Star game, he scored 12 points and 5 assists. So it wasn't a bad showing for a first-time All-Star, all things considered. Mo Williams. What y'all know about Mo?
I clicked on a random year. I clicked on 2004 just to see what the team was like. Interesting, not just the player, interesting starter. Because starting for the West that year, Steve Francis out of Houston.
In 04?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
the franchise was that boy.
Yeah, I mean, that was that was his last year of his. He got 3. Or that was his last year as an All-Star. He had 3 in a row. But yeah, that year he was a starter, not just the all-star. He was a starter on that team as well. Off the bench, Ray Allen, Shaq, Sam Cassell, Peja Stojakovic, Dirk, Andre Kirilenko is one
Yo,
all-star
my
year.
AK-47. That's one of the hardest names in sports ever.
That's one of the toughest nicknames of all time. But yeah, AK-47 coming off the bench that year, and then Brad Miller
My goodness.
in the
Kings, when you play for the Kings, bro.
Yeah.
Jesus, Brad Miller. Damn, I haven't heard that name in so long. Oh my God. I just remember him getting his ass torched by Shaq in the damn Western Conference Finals. That's what I remember. Brad Miller getting his ass tossed up.
Started for the East that year. Jermaine O'Neal, AI, Ben Wallace, T-Mac, Vince Carter. That was pretty solid. Expected starting. Yeah. And then off the bench, you had Kenyon Martin, Jay Kidd, Meta World Peace at the time, Ron Artest.
Yeah.
Baron Davis, Michael Redd, Paul Pierce. And this one's a little interesting. Jamal Magloire. That was his one all-star year. I know it is
John McLaurin. Wait, he that was when he was with the Heat or when he was with the Hornets?
Hornets. When he was with the Hornets, his 4th year in the league.
Interesting. I did not know that.
And 10.
I did not know that. He's a big man, right?
Yeah, center.
Yeah. One all-star year. Okay, Jamal McLaurin. Okay. I like that. That's a good find right there. Brad Miller, Jamal McLaurin. I like that shit. Okay. Hold on. Let me bounce back. All right, what about 2019? 2019, D'Angelo Russell. Yes, deloading. We always making fun of him. He made an all-star.
That Nets team that year, that was his best year, man. That Nets year that was a fun team to watch.
It was. He replaced an injured Victor Oladipo. He suffered a ruptured quad tendon. In 2019, he was averaging a career high of 19.6 points, 6.4 assists, and was shooting on 43, 37, and 80 splits. He had made 143 pointers, which was 3rd highest among Eastern Conference players. Up, and all of these stats too, by the way, are up to the All-Star break, not the full season. But yeah, he made 143 pointers, which was the 3rd highest among Eastern Conference players. Interesting fact: he was the Nets' first All-Star since Joe Johnson in 2013-2014. Joe Johnson. Of course, crazy. That was during the team where
I didn't know he was an all-star as a net.
It wasn't at the same time as they played. That was the Nets team where it was Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, the Darren Williams, the last of Darren Williams, Joe Johnson. They were trying to make some shake with a super team and they absolutely flopped. The Nets put themselves in such a big hole. D'Lo, he only scored 6 points, resulting from 2 made threes in a game, but D'Angelo Russell. Yes, often used as a scapegoat whenever a team is doing bad. He made an all-star team, and yeah, that Nets team was genuinely entertaining to watch. It was fun watching them play against the Sixers in the playoff. I think it was the Sixers in the playoffs. Pretty sure it was. That was a fun. Yeah, that was a fun series to watch.
All right, and next year that I pulled out of a hat, just pulled out a random year, 2013. The starters were pretty much who you would expect from that era of basketball. West, KD, Kobe, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, Dwight in the West. In the East, Melo, Braun, D-Wade, Bosh, and KG. Pretty expected from that era. But off the bench, had a couple interesting figures.
I know you're going to pick one of mine.
What is that?
I said you picked one of mine.
No, this is the year before. I know what you're talking about, I think. Not the Pacers. This is the year before.
No, this is not. You picked the one I know. I already know.
Off the bench that year was Harden. I believe that was his first year in Houston. Tony Parker, Russ, David Lee.
Yep, you picked him,
man.
Yep, David Lee.
One of his 2 All-Star years. He came off the bench. Zebo, that was one of his 2 All-Star years. LaMarcus Aldridge in Portland, not in San Antonio back when he was in Portland, and then Tim Duncan off the bench. And then on the East, this East bench is hilarious. Kyrie and PG. Those are 2. Those are expected. Luol Deng coming off the bench, man. In 2013, he was an all-star.
That's insane. Luol Deng.
Deng coming off the bench. Also had Tyson Chandler, who was he was a great defender back then, but had him coming off the bench. Joakim Noah, Drew Holiday, and Brooke Lopez.
So number one, first of all, some of those got to be injury replacements. They got to be.
They
got to be.
Brooke Lopez replaced Rondo.
Okay, I was about to say there's some missing names on that goddamn list. And also that means the coaches picked the reserves.
That was the only one.
So coaches picked Luol Deng. All right, look, I ain't mad at it. I'm not gonna sit up here and act like Luol Deng was a scrub, but that's interesting. All-star Luol Deng. But yeah, you picked David Lee. And that was one of my picks as well.
Okay, I thought you were gonna go with I'm sure you get to it.
He was a two-time All-Star, like you said, in 2010 and 2013. He was selected as a reserve in both years. In 2010, he averaged, and this was with the Knicks, he averaged 20 points, 11.4 rebounds by the All-Star break. Yet, he didn't finish top 10 in voting in 2010, most likely due to the Knicks' horrible record of 19-32. Guess what? They ended up only winning 10 more games for the rest of the season. So that was just absolutely horrible. I get that the All-Star game shouldn't be voted off of wins and whatnot, but that's probably why the fans didn't vote him in, because your team is 19-32. We're not even watching you play. But and then in 2013 he averaged 19 points and 10.8 rebounds leading up to the All-Star break. He finished 10th in voting. He played a combined 26 minutes in both appearances, scoring only 10 points and 4 rebounds in both games combined. And David Lee was the last Warriors player to make an All-Star game before Curry took the league by storm. Because I found this out doing some research. Curry was technically considered a snub during that year. He was considered an All-Star snub. And then every year since, of course, he made
point guard in the league. We were just going over this the other day in the group chat, but I was saying he's a top 5 point guard in the league that year.
In 2013? I want to say top 5 in 2013. However, he was that was his breakout year, really. That was his breakout year. And in my eyes, it was interesting to see to learn that David Lee and David Lee got a ring with the Warriors too. So, David Lee, he kind of did it all. He had a pretty solid career for what it was. Can't even lie. 2-time All-Star, NBA champ. Can't hate on him for that. I ain't gonna lie.
Another tidbit about Luol Deng that year, I'm gonna just say the terrorist himself, Tom Thibodeau, the minute king, that you're gonna play every minute of every game coach. Luol Deng led the league in minutes per game in minutes that year. He averaged 38 minutes a game.
Yeah, that boy's a workhorse.
He was Tom Tibbs. But that's one thing about Tibbs. He's been so consistent his whole damn career. If he finds out that you can play, that you got the minutes, you're going to run the minutes up.
He does the same thing with OG. He's also just OG Anunoby. He's going to be missing some time with an injury. He's doing some surgery or something. It shouldn't be too extensive. But one thing Tom Tibbs loves, he loves a long wing who can score and play defense. Look at Luol Deng. Look at Jimmy Butler. Look at OG Anunoby. He's gonna run you to the dirt. That's literally what he does. If you're a wing who has some size and he can score, shoot the ball, he's gonna run your ass 45 minutes every night if he can. So it's just very. I think Tibbs and Julius Randle are the two pieces I'm looking for to see how far this Knicks team can go. If Tibbs does horrible with these minutes and the Knicks are burnt out by the playoffs, you know what I'm saying? We know who to blame and who to look at.
Yeah, literally last year, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I believe it was last year. No, it was the year before. RJ Barrett and Julius Randle were top 2 in the league in minutes. Like he's I don't know what it is, but like you said, a wing who can score and defend. He was going to run you into the ground. We obviously know what happened with Derrick Rose. He getting hurt when he shouldn't have even been in the game.
Shouldn't fucking been in it, man. That's just, oh boy. Hey, Man, I'm gonna get pissed off. Let's just move on to this next topic. Oh yeah, real quick talk too. David Lee also made the 2012-2013 All NBA team. So we're gonna look back at some of these things and say David Lee was a legitimate, presence in the league, bro, for real. But like I said, I can't hate on it. Can't hate. All-Star games coming up. Maybe when is it? When is All-Star game? Next weekend?
Weekend, I believe.
Maybe we'll do some more obscure all-star picks as we lead up to the game. There's so many, bro. There's so many. And these are just some of the more recent ones. You gave some old ones, but we can go even further back and be like, who the hell was this guy? But yeah, man. And then to cap off this episode, NFL honors, the awards were announced. Starting off with the most valuable player of the league, Lamar Jackson won it again. That was pretty
almost unanimous.
He pretty much got that in. Yeah, I'm about to say he pretty much had that in the bag.
Away. One vote away. The person voted Josh Allen. One vote.
And Lamar became the 11th player in NFL history to earn the award for a second time. So that's a very big accomplishment for him. I think I'm fine with that win. That's or that award. He definitely deserved it. Like you said, once the 49ers had that stinker, once Dak Prescott had those stinker of the games, it was a wrap. There was no need for conversation anymore. Josh Allen got a vote, which I'm surprised about as far as MVP is concerned. Maybe it was his late season push when they won 6 in a row or something like that in order to make the playoffs, or to get the second seed. I'm not sure, but you know how that goes. CJ Stroud, or the Texans in general, they swept the rookie awards. CJ Stroud won Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Will Anderson earned Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm solid with that too.
Yeah, I had both of those. Those are both of my picks. I had CJ Anderson. Will Anderson was a little bit more. That was a easier pick for me. I know it was close among fans. It was close between Stroud and Puka. Among voters, it wasn't as close. CJ Stroud, I believe, 48 first place votes to 2. So among voters, it wasn't even particularly close. I do think they value. I personally agree with valuing quarterback, especially as a rookie, just because of the difficulty of the position. I agree. I wouldn't have been mad either way. I wouldn't have been mad if Puka won. I'm a little surprised it was 48-2. I thought it might have been 30-20, something like that. But either way, CJ Stroud, Texans, great job from there. I mean, just their front office did an excellent job. D'Amico didn't, I don't spoil it a little bit. D'Amico didn't win Coach of the Year, but he was in the running, and then just having both Rookie of the Years is impressive.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Noble. You spoiled the Coach of the Year winner.
I didn't spoil who won. I just said who didn't win.
Well, if it wasn't him, then it's you know what? Don't play with me. Don't play with me. Coach of the Year winner, since Noble wants to go ahead and spoil who didn't win. Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns won. That was going to be a very close race. I'm not sure what the voting numbers were.
1 point away. Stefanski had 21. D'Amico had 20.
Where did Dan Campbell finish? I feel like he finished third.
I was gonna say the problem. D'Amico probably could have won, but there was 3 votes for Campbell, 3 for Shanahan, 2 for Harbaugh. I'm not mad at those, but then one person voted Sean McVay, and it's like that vote could have went anywhere else.
That's probably the same person who voted Josh Allen. just being different, bro. Like we need to start checking some of these niggas with these votes, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Because what are you talking about? Like I'm fine with Kevin Stefanski win. I would have liked to see D'Amico Ryans win. But we even said it when we were doing our predictions for it that was going to be an award where any of the winners would have been deserving. Honestly, maybe not Sean McVay. I'm not going to say deserving. He wouldn't be deserving, but comparable to the other candidates. You know what I'm saying? The other candidates were much more deserving. We couldn't really be mad at any of these guys. Kevin Stefanski making the playoffs with all of the turmoil that team had to overcome as far as injuries were concerned. He deserved it for sure. I'm fine with that win.
I agree.
And then sticking with the Browns, sticking with the Browns, Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. He finally got it. Finally checked that off the bucket list. Myles Garrett gets his. He won Defensive Player of the Year. What was the voting looking like?
Voting for that one, pretty close. 23, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt 19, Micah Parsons 7, and then 1 for Deron Bland.
Like who? I know
Well,
Deron Bland led the league in interception.
The same person with Josh Allen and
you're just trying to pick the underdog, bro. Like you're not even you just want to be here, bro. That's what you're doing. I'm cool with Myles Garrett winning. I'm glad he finally gets to get his. Like you said, he was so close all of these other years, and he was always getting beat out. He finally gets his Defensive Player of the Year award. Hopefully, the Browns can build on this momentum. They can come back stronger. But who knows with Deshaun Watson leading the helm, man? I ain't gonna lie. We got a lot of question marks surrounding him, and not a lot of answers, really. So it seems like it's gonna be a reoccurring thing with him getting hurt or playing mediocre. Hopefully the Browns can recover. Offensive Player of the Year, your man CMC got that white boy magic.
Pretty decisive victory. 39 votes. Tyreek Hill second with 7. Lamar third with 3, and then CD Lamb with 1. And then somebody gave. Like this is what we're talking about with checking these. Somebody gave Travis Etienne a third place vote
for Offensive Player of the Year. All of these players, bro, was he even a finalist? Bro, this man wasn't even a finalist, bro.
I don't know.
Dog,
I couldn't tell you that one.
This man, whoever is voting these fools.
Troll, man. There's a troll in the voting, man. They're just out there trolling.
No, exactly. Not gonna let Lamar win unanimously. CMC lost a vote to Travis Etienne, essentially. Yeah, this is bogus. And to cap off the NFL Honors Awards, the Comeback Player of the Year is another Cleveland Browns player, Joe Flacco. I didn't think he should have won this one. It should have gone to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield should have won this 100%. However, I understand why Joe Flacco won. Stories do tell a lot in the sports world and the NFL, so I get it. However, I really would have liked to see Baker Mayfield win, especially with everything that he had to go through for these last 2.5, 3 seasons. And for him to really, he looks like he's going to be the man in Tampa Bay as well. They picked him up on a hot mic during a segment on ESPN or something about talking about the Super Bowl, saying that, I mean, he's, let's go ahead and build this Buccaneers team. So he wants to stay for the long term. I think the Buccaneers will be happy staying with him the long term. And I'm fine with him being long-term quarterback for the Buccaneers. I think I like that fit for him. He showed his worth on that team.
Yeah. There needs to be a distinction between they need to add a most improved award because it's too conflated. Like you have coming back from injury as well as someone who coming back from being not as good. It's just a very confusing award. I think they need to distinguish the two.
Right.
But the voting actually is very interesting. Damar Hamlin actually had more first place votes than Flacco. There's just the amount of total voting in terms of Flacco getting second place votes. He like pretty much swept it was pretty much people voted. They either voted Hamlin first or they didn't vote him at all. And so Flacco having a lot of first place votes as well as a lot of second place votes actually ended up giving him the award because Hamlin had 21 first place votes. Flacco only had 13, but then in second place votes, he had 26 compared to the Hamlin 7. So that was interesting. And then in terms of total votes, Baker was third with 93.
So all respect to Damar Hamlin, and technically dying on the field is an insane thing to go through, and just the fact that he is able to stay on a NFL roster.
Oh, sorry. Before you say that, I'm gonna read off some of the comeback player votes. Like I said, Baker Mayfield was third, Matthew Stafford was fourth, Tua was fifth, Brock Purdy was sixth, Calvin Ridley was seventh.
The hell did that nigga come from? The suspension?
Gambling.
Like what?
So Calvin Ridley was seventh. Lamar got a vote. Aaron Donald.
I don't get that. I don't get that neither. What comeback did they do? What comeback did Brock Purdy have too? I get that he botched his elbow, but He was the man never had to come back from them. He was already there. He just had to get a quick little surgery, and he was back and better than ever.
I don't
Like,
know.
I mean, like
these voters are trolls, man.
Yeah, like all due respect to Damar Hamlin, like I could never imagine that. And sometimes I ain't gonna lie, like after I saw that happen on the field, I would think about my well-being fighting. Like, I mean, he died on the field due to a freak accident where the cause of contact was in between heart palpitations. And I'm like, well, I get punched in the chest and in the stomach and kicked and all this type of stuff in my chest area. That could happen to me. So it was a slight fear that crossed my mind while after it happened. And it's cool to see him back on the field, right? But I ain't gonna lie to you. When I hear Damar Hamlin's name now, I think of that goddamn fake punt. So I don't want to hear nothing about him winning no comeback player after that performance. I don't want to hear that. So they need to go ahead and scrap that. With how that is, with you showing me the voting now, I'm glad Joe Flacco won, because if he didn't get all them damn second place votes, we would have been getting a Damar Hamlin pity trophy, which I don't like. Look, this is a meritocracy. You ain't just gonna win some shit because you died on the field. What you thought this was? So look, if you're gonna win some shit for dying, that's a eulogy for you. That's a funeral. You ain't win no shit for dying on the field in no damn NFL honors ceremony. No, sir.
And also shout out Cameron Hayward won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. That's not on field, that's off the field. Salute his service. Also Jim Schwartz from the Browns won Assistant Coach of the Year. So Browns end up walking away with 4 awards. Comeback Player, Coach of the Year, Assistant Coach of the Year, and then Defensive Player of the Year. Hall of Fame. You want me to do it? Because I've got something to say about the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I bet say to cap this off. Hall of Fame winners was what? Devin Hester,
Devin Hester,
Peppers,
Mike Freeney, Patrick Willis, Andre Johnson, Julius Peppers. I'm happy with it for the most part, but there's one thing that makes me very upset. It was Antonio Gates' first ballot, first time being on the ballots for the Hall of Fame. Top 3 in receptions all time amongst tight ends. Top 3 in yards all time amongst tight ends. Number one in touchdowns all time amongst tight ends. And he's not in the Hall of Fame. I'm very upset about that one because I'm knocking my damn light off the stand because I've been so upset. Because it's in my eyes, I mean, being a tight end is my favorite position on the field. I used to be a tight end. Antonio Gates was one of the players that got me into football. In my eyes, what more can you do other than leading in receptions and yards as well? What more can you do to be in the Hall of Fame than what he did? Like, being a top 3 player at your position doesn't warrant a Hall of Fame bid. Then what does? Like, right. Devin Hester, and I do think Devin Hester should have got in because he's the greatest punt returner
way long ago.
But yeah, he should have been in, and so it should have been a spot for Antonio Gates.
Yeah.
Patrick Willis, I definitely think he should have been in. Of course, not 49ers bias aside, one of the greatest interior linebackers of all time. Andre Johnson had a really strong grade, obviously one of the all-time greats. I think Antonio Gates should have straight up could have gotten over him. Julius Peppers' prolific career, I think he deserved it. Dwight Freeney could have gotten in over Dwight Freeney. But for me, it's just with Antonio Gates, I don't know what you say to justify him not making the Hall of Fame. Like, he is top 3 in every major category when it comes to the tight end records. Who else could be qualified if he doesn't make the qualifications? Like, I mean, we see who they voted in, of course, but I don't know. It's just very frustrating because I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand why he wouldn't make the cut doing what he did. Tony Gonzalez is in. Shannon Sharp is in. Gronk is going to be. You got all these players, these great players, and of course they deserve it as well. But there are all these great players who are in the Hall of Fame that have done less than him. And I know he didn't win a ring, but that doesn't matter for the tight end.
No,
Andre Johnson didn't win a ring. I don't think Devin Hester won a ring. So it's just very frustrating to look at because I don't know what you can do.
Bet Travis Kelce get in first ballot, first time he's eligible. Bet George, maybe George Kittle. Definitely Travis Kelce gonna get his ass in there one way or another. So it's like it's so interesting because first, number one, you gotta remember Antonio Gates. His ass ain't started out as a damn football player. He was basketball first, right?
Yeah,
he was a hooper.
College.
So the fact that he was able to come in and literally set all of these records, so all these presidents dominate the game for such a how long was his playing career? 16, 17,
yeah,
15 years. For such a long time. It's like the Pro Football Hall of Fame is too stingy, and their criteria is so absurd at times. And then the Basketball Hall of Fame is too porous. It's too open. Everybody gets in. There is nobody who doesn't get in. There's no balance in between. I'm not sure how the Baseball Hall of Fame works. But
they have some, oh my God, don't even get me in a baseball. Those voters are just idiotic. It's not the Baseball Hall of Fame is a whole different beast, whereas the voters are just stupid. It's not even that they're stingy. They just vote for the absolute Barry Bonds. I don't give a damn about the PEDs be damn, bro, because there's other PED player
in the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds is the greatest hitter of all time, and he is not in the Hall of Fame. I'm not even. That's a different beast. We'll get into that another time when baseball season rolls around.
Yeah.
Baseball Hall of Fame voters. Look, there was something on Twitter earlier this year or at the end of last year when they were doing the voting for the Hall of Fame this year. One of the voters posted on Twitter why he didn't pick a player. He said, "Oh, because this player will be on the ballot next year. I'll just vote for them then." It was his last year of eligibility, so you can't vote for him again. So that's what that just puts you in the mind. I mean, I'm just explaining the mind of a Baseball Hall of Fame voter. They have the dumbest voters of all time. I don't even want to get into that.
And these are the people. And when I hear stuff like that, I never doubt myself in this career because there are literal idiots that are actually they actually have some type of power in these fields, like dead ass. Like in order to have a Hall of Fame vote or an All-Star vote, MVP vote, anything like that, you have to be prominent in sports media in some capacity. And I never ever doubt myself in this industry because if some of these goddamn nincompoop fools can get in and have some type of power, oh, I know I'm gonna be straight because I actually know what I'm talking about. And these idiots don't. These idiots have allegedly spent 20 plus of their years dedicating their life to a sport, and they still don't even understand that players run out of eligibility after a certain point in time. That's just stupid. So yeah, I agree. I don't know why Antonio Gates wasn't in. I like Devin Hester. Devin Hester should have been in years ago. Should have been in years ago. Patrick Willis, I like him in.
Yeah, Patrick Willis was a first-time ballot.
I like Patrick Willis making it. Julius Peppers, definitely like Julius Peppers making it. But who was the other dude you said?
Dwight Freeney.
Dwight Freeney. Yeah. He Antonio Gates should have made it over him 100%. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what, like I said, because now we got to go into next year, and also Torrey Holt didn't make it. I don't know how many years of eligibility he has left, but it can't be too many. He
really? Torrey Holt didn't make it?
No, he's still not in. He retired in 2009, so it's been 15 years. 15 years of not making it. I don't know. Again, I don't know what he has to do. Reggie Wayne is also like top 5 all time in yards and touchdowns. He didn't make it. It's 5 is not enough year by year when you talk about the talent that's in the NFL. There's 53 players on every goddamn team, right? And you're multiplying that by 32 a year.
Politics
a year is not enough to qualify for the NFL Hall of Fame.
Politics. Not
to mention Fred Taylor isn't in. There's so many names that just get snubbed every year because 5 isn't. 5 isn't enough. They need to expand it to at least like 7, 8.
Nope. If y'all want to see us actually get a Hall of Fame vote, y'all support us. Y'all support Hear Me Roar. Let you know what I'm saying. Help us get there because you clearly we know what you're talking about.
Unnarrative, educated vote award voting.
telling you, come on, y'all help us. Y'all help us help y'all's favorite players get into the hall. Basketball, football, baseball, UFC. I don't know how UFC voting works, but UFC too. They got they have Hall of Fame theirs. Come on, help us out. Like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Hear Me Roar, episode 41. This was a great episode. We talked about the NBA, talked about the Super Bowl preview. We will be doing a live, or not a live, it will be an immediate reaction to Super Bowl 58 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. Be on the lookout for that on Sunday night. I guess maybe, I don't know if we should post it Sunday night or Monday. Probably Monday morning, first thing Monday morning. And it will be an immediate reaction after the game, however. We talked about the UFC 298 card. We're going to dive deeper into the differing matchups some more than we already talked about today. So if y'all really want to see us continue to speak some sports gospel, if you want to see us improve the show, support us, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, share to anyone you know who likes sports. It doesn't matter if you just leave a comment that says GG or a heart emoji. We appreciate it. Give us a rating on Spotify and Apple. Everything helps. So please, y'all, help us feed y'all more information at a higher quality and at a higher rate as well. So with that being said, this has been Hear Me Roar, episode 41. My name is Tony Hope, the Tony Hope. That is Noble Lewis. We will see y'all after the Super Bowl on Sunday. We're less than 48 hours away. We are almost there. Yup. Less than 72 hours away. We are almost there. We are excited to talk about it. And with that,
number 6.
Yeah. No. Don't get too cocky yet. 1990s was the last time y'all won. Let's go ahead and try to
be 2024.
Let's get to the fourth quarter when y'all are up at least 17 points. Maybe we could talk then. But until then, we will.
I'm not gonna be satisfied until that damn timer runs out.
Trust me. I know.
I know you know.
So it's man, that heartbreak. So before I start crying, we out of here.